The Arizona Cardinals are officially bad again, and I hate it here.
It's awful. The Arizona Cardinals, the most uninspired effort under the Jonathan Gannon era. We're breaking it down. This is therapy. Let's go, PHNX Cardinals.
Look. Just a couple sad boys here on a PHNX Cardinals post-game show edition. The Arizona Cardinals completely mollywopped by Cliff Kingsbury's Washington Commanders, 42-14. Johnny, Venerable, Brack, Damon, Dawg. We're going to hear from Craig Morgan at State Farm Stadium, who's going to be standing by after just chatting with JG at his press conference. This show, of course, before we get into it, brought to you by our friends. They don't let us down like the Cardinals. Bet365, the presenting sponsor. Download the Bet365 app. Use the bonus code PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer. Find out why it's never ordinary with our friends at Bet365. I would have loved the Cardinals to be ordinary today. Instead, they put forth the most egregious, atrocious, embarrassing effort, Bo, since, coincidentally, Cliff Kingsbury was the head coach of this franchise.
Yeah, it was the most uninspired effort we've seen. They were just outclassed basically in every facet of the game, 42-14, and every single one of those points was scored on the offensive side of the football, a number that Cliff never reached while he was the head coach or the offensive play caller for the Cardinals. I know they reached that total point against the Saints on Thursday Night Football, but that wasn't from the offense.
Right.
I think he topped out about 38 points as his high as a play caller here. But, I mean, there's nothing you can look at when you look at the statistics, especially when you look at the final score, when you watch that game where you said, hey, the Cardinals, at least they led the way in this department.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Washington Commanders dismantled Jonathan Gannon's Arizona Cardinals team to a point, and we talked about this. We kind of put up the sign because we didn't realistically think we were going to be sitting here. But if you lose to Cliff Kingsbury, you lose to Jayden Daniels, a rookie quarterback, you know, you were going to put yourself in a hole that's going to be tough to dig yourself out of.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the path forward is here beyond somehow figuring it out, something, you know, bucking all these trends and beating teams that you're not going to be favored to beat. Like, I'm looking down the schedule here, and I don't know if the Cardinals are going to be favored until like week 14 or 15 again.
Yeah, drop a like on this video. We see your super chats. We're going to get to everybody. We're going to be here as long as it takes to get through this. But I think it's bigger than just, hey, you know, are they going to remain viable in the NFC? Because we've seen it happen. This is an organizational failure today.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about it before we jumped on air. And a lot of people are like, hey, Johnny, let's tank for Travis Hunter at Colorado, or we need X player to fix X thing. No, today you got beat top to bottom as an organization. The offense looked horrific. Your quarterback is regressing the last 2 weeks. Your offensive coordinator, who was once thought of as a future head coach, looks egregiously bad. And then defensively, yeah, you can point to personnel issues, but you had a chance to attack those in the offseason. You chose not to do that. Your calling card was supposed to be your offense to carry and complement this defense. Where is it? So you got outcoached today. The players, again, look like players from the Cliff Kingsbury era. Mm-hmm. Uninspired, unenthused. That's bigger than just, are we going to win a road game next week at San Francisco? How are we going to continue on? You let Cliff Kingsbury on a short week with a rookie quarterback and Dan Quinn with the worst defense in the NFL come into your building and humiliate you in front of your fan base. This is an unacceptable, unapologetic loss. And again, I think it's the worst loss for this franchise, save for the Kyler Murray tears his ACL game against, what was that, the Patriots?
Yeah.
I think this is the worst loss since the Rams playoff loss, where showed on national TV, what was that, about 2.5 years ago? Coincidentally, Cliff Kingsbury's coaching the team at the time. This is the worst one since then, and it pains me because up until this point, I could never imagine, unfathomable for a Jonathan Gannon coach team to look like that, because we haven't seen that in over a year with JG. Like, even if there's discrepancies in talent, you knew Gannon's team was going to have the effort, that they would be prepared. This was a must-win game, and the Cardinals failed across the board.
They did. There wasn't one redeeming quality in this game, and you had, like, at the end of this, Washington just celebrating, taking over State Farm Stadium. It's not the fans' problem. Like, they've won 8 games. We're realistic here. They've won 8 games in the last 2 seasons. If Washington wants to come in and like they invade State Farm Stadium, like, give the Cardinals a reason to come and cheer. And now you're showing another, very slow path forward. Like, this was a measuring stick game. Mm-hmm. And when you learn about this Cardinals rebuild, it was a sobering look of where they actually are right now.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as it's daunting to think about, where they could potentially get right in the next couple of weeks. This was it. This was your path to get to 2-2. And you didn't even come, like, is after your opening series touchdown drive, you cowered, you went away, and you weren't a viable football team the rest of the way. Like, they come out, and this game is a 10-point game at halftime, and you give up a 47-yard defensive pass interference that puts Washington in an easy place to score and cash in, and immediately make it a 17-point game. And then your offense goes out and proceeds to get 16 negative yards on their next series, and the game is over at that point.
It's over.
There's nowhere path forward there. So it's as a Cardinals fan, like, after going from that playoff loss to 4-13 to the end of the Cliff Kingsbury era to the Jonathan Gannon era in a full teardown rebuild, to this point where you thought, hey, maybe this team could be ahead of schedule. It's like, no, they're not ahead of schedule. They might not even be on schedule right now, the way that they matched up and couldn't be competitive with a team in the Washington Commanders with a rookie quarterback and a rebuilt roster.
Yeah, I don't want to hear about, the Commanders are ahead of schedule. Look what they did to Cincinnati on Monday night. You're going to tell me that the Arizona Cardinals aren't equipped after a full year of resources and multiple draft classes to beat this Commanders team? It's not even you weren't even competitive. They're 4 games into their rebuild. Their defense is a joke. Everyone laughs at it. They have no quality defensive back play. And you let them take it to the woodshed for the better part of 3.5 quarters. The only time today was our Sanderson Ford drive of the game. It was the opening drive. Cardinals went down. They scored on the opening possession. They went for it. Thank God for Marvin Harrison Jr. providing some kind of bright spot for this franchise right now. Catching the touchdown, Marvin Harrison Jr. Is our X Factor play of their game, by the way. 5 catches for 45 yards and a touchdown. So shout out to Marv. And again, this is the fear of exposing these young, transcendent players to this kind of losing culture that's been relevant the last couple of years, something that I thought and has had a lingering effect on Kyler Murray. So we're excited for Marv and what he's been able to do, but it's a team game. Again, opening drive was fantastic, but then, Bo, you alluded to it. Nothing after that. Nothing. And this franchise right now, the rebuild, and this is the point that this show tried to make for about 6 months in the offseason. You can have your rebuild. You can have your cake and eat it too. But if you're Washington and you lose this game, not a big deal. You're on the right trajectory, right? You got a rookie head coach, a rookie quarterback, mixing in new pieces, right? With the Cardinals and the expectations that come from Gannon being in the fold now year 2, same coordinators, money to spend, Kyler Murray making $50 million, these kind of outings are unacceptable. They cannot happen. And, like, I don't know what the solution is. I'm not going to sit up here and pretend that you can wave your magic wand and fix all their problems. Because, like, I don't want Michael Bidwell to fire people. These are competent people. But from an organizational standpoint, you have to look at what you did to prepare for this season. You're a quarter of the way through now. You're 1-3, and you have to say, we made mistakes. We made mistakes. We need to look at this collectively because you're about to go on a 3-game gauntlet, 2 of which are on the road against 3 teams that I believe are going to be in the playoff discussion. Yeah. San Francisco, Green Bay, and you welcome the Chargers on Monday Night Football, albeit on ESPN+. Like, what you did to prepare for this season, you get an F. You failed that course. Now you have to go back to the drawing table and rethink what you're doing because, again, this isn't Dobbs throwing them to the Wolves. This isn't Clayton Tune. We're screwing around with K1 at the end of last year, getting people some snaps. You had $70+ million to go into free agency. How's that looking right now? With $22 million left over, you had 7 players drafted in the top 90. Who's making an impact outside of Marv right now? F. And you have to eat that today.
Yeah, you absolutely have to do that. I mean, we talk about this is a organization that prides itself on being process driven. When things like this happen, when you lose and you're not competitive the entire game, you have to look at the entire process. Now, Gannon has admitted and said that he's willing to blow everything up, but now you're tasked with doing that on the fly. Like now you're doing that with 3 of the 4 times that you've practiced, prepared for a game, you've come out on the losing end. And the most recent, you just haven't been in the football game since your opening series score. After that, it was 27 straight points, 27-0 run from a rookie quarterback in your house, and you couldn't stop him. You couldn't get anything going on your own offensive side of the football, which is supposed to be your strength, that is now it's diminished into being one of your biggest weakness.
Yeah.
I mean, more so than your defense. Like your defense, at least in the first half, was able to stop the Commanders on offense with the Garrett Williams pick, and then they were able to get off the football field again, and then you weren't able to cash in for points. Like it has just been a complete, just everything has fallen apart. And now the Arizona Cardinals are sitting here picking up the pieces going into Monday, week 5, against the San Francisco 49ers team that's going to get healthier, and they're at home, and you're going to have to try to put together a game plan and prepare for this team to play a lot tighter than you just did at home, which should have been conducive to you at least having a better chance to get back to 500.
We've got 825 watching on YouTube alone. We thank you. Drop a like.
Man. I'm sorry, everybody that tuned into this game and who had high expectations for this team and came away severely disappointed, like the host and the producer on this podcast.
Well, here's what we will do. We'll hold this team accountable. People want to call us fanboys, waving pom-poms. There is reason to get excited for the MHJs of the world. But when you have outings like this, and for those who weren't a part of this show 2 years ago during the latter games of the Cliff Kingsbury era, some dark times on this podcast where we had to keep it real. We're going to keep it real with you guys. You can't gloss over a 1-3 start and an egregious almost 30-point loss, uncompetitive to Cliff Kingsbury in your building. I know I keep saying Cliff over Dan Quinn, but who'd they keep panning to during this game? They knew what was at stake. The Commanders had a sense of urgency. Like, it's very disheartening because we've had Jonathan Gannon on this show. I think he's a damn good football coach. I believe in Jonathan Gannon and his vision. I like his coordinators. But it's a production-based business. And again, you can loop in. I'm going to loop in Monty Ossenford with that as well. It's the argument we've been making for 2 years. You can talk about rebuild and vision and long-term outlook, but the minute that you start losing and losing specifically like this on NFL Sundays, you lose credibility and faith with your fan base. There's no timeline right now. This is who you are.
Right.
And you've had a year and a half and 2 off seasons to build this team up. So that's indefensible.
Right. No, it is. Losses like that create that and put yourself in harm's way from front office standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, to a coordinator standpoint, to players on the roster, where you start to look at, okay, who didn't get the job done? And you start to look at this team and this performance. I mean, between Brian Robinson and Jayden Daniels, they could do anything they wanted on the ground throughout this game. And then Jayden Daniels being able to continue his streak and completing a high percentage of his passes at 86.7%, 26 for 30 for 233 yards and a touchdown. He did have the interception that he overthrew, but was able to make up for it very early on. And look at this third down conversions. It's not even like the discrepancy, the disparity is so huge, and it was the same in the previous game. And the Commanders were able to capitalize even more so than the Lions, who we thought were a better football team. We're trashing the Cardinals here, and deservedly so. Tip the cap to Washington.
Yeah.
Washington continues to play at a high clip. 3-1. I thought they were beating up on some bad teams. They continue to beat up on a bad team again today.
Yeah.
I hope, I want to see what this Washington team is about, beyond this week, and we're going to continue to see them play and see what Jayden Daniels is made of. But through 4 games, so far, so good.
Beat up on a bad team. The Cardinals are a bad team now.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Cardinals they're 5-23 in their last 28 games. Now, 7 of those losses came at the tail end with Cliff Kingsbury. But it's more to kind of underscore what this fan base has been exposed to. And right now, and I don't want to jump to conclusions here because it's a week-to-week thing in the NFL. And they've got games left on the schedule to be played. But again, to your point, not going to be favored in very much of them. Like the effort that I saw today from some key players making big-time money, it starts to put in your head a little bit like, is this the beginning of the end for like a Budda Baker in an Arizona Cardinal uniform? Are we going to look back on this game that he did not play well? What's the future look like? Kyler Murray at some point has to be able to parlay an LA Rams outing into another good game, and build off of that. We have not seen that yet. Like the offense, in my opinion, is a bigger disappointment to the defense because I think a lot of us saw this coming. But at the same time, that doesn't make it easier to digest. So when things like this happen, I don't think Jonathan Gannon, save for looking like this every week for the rest of the year, and I don't expect that, is it any concern. Coordinators will reassess as the season goes on. But players, specifically players that weren't drafted by this organization that remained under contract, that are getting up there in age, like everything is going to be on the table. Like you can't just chalk it up to if the Cardinals start 1-6, 1-7, and this snowballs, and I hope it doesn't, everything is going to be put under a microscope before the trade deadline, before Halloween, looking at how they're going to get this corrected, because it's going to put so much pressure on this organization. And again, this is the argument this show is trying to make for 6 months. You screw around with a rebuild timeline and pinch pennies in the offseason, right? And don't play anybody in the preseason and suck it up this year and go into this offseason. Guess what? Everybody's going to say, you're on the hot seat. Kyler Murray, Jonathan Gannon, Nick Rallis, Monty Ossenfort. Do you really want to live in that reality? Wouldn't it be better if you would have taken that remaining $25 million and added some quality defensive end help, added some quality defensive tackle help, not Justin Jones, who's on injured reserve, or Bilal Nichols, who's invisible, right? They opted to take a conservative route because they believed that this is a draft and develop organization. Well, guess what? When your draft picks aren't making an impact yet, and it takes time for them to get acclimated, what are you going to do on the gauntlet of this early schedule? Newsflash, you're going to lose, and it's going to look like that. You didn't want Jonathan Grenard. You didn't want Danielle Hunter. You didn't want Christian Wilkins. Okay, you're giving up subsequently 200 rushing yards in 2 consecutive weeks. That's the reality of the situation. So you're going to go into the latter half of this year and into the offseason potentially scrambling around talking about must win. You can have your cake and eat it too. You can be a draft and develop organization, but you also can't be pinching pennies on a fan base that has watched too much losing football. Nobody wanted to see you sit out of free agency. Nobody wanted to watch this team not participate in the preseason, knowing full well the quality of the teams that they faced to begin this year. These were mistakes that everybody on this show and in this fan base could see coming. Now, I didn't expect them to lose like this today, Bo,
No.
but you can see like it makes sense where the cracks in the foundation are.
Right. Well, I mean, when you start losing games like this, when you start 1-3 and you're trying to figure out what went wrong, you start to see the errors of the process. Things look a lot less colorful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they just look weird and they look like they're not going to work ever. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm looking at this game. Even the opening drive, even the opening score, like fourth and 1, right? And they throw a fade to the end zone. It worked out
Because of Marvin.
Because of Marv.
Yeah.
And I don't like you could have picked up the first down and set up with a fresh set of downs right there, knocking on the doors, the end zone. Like even that looks weird to me now because what you looked at down the line, a big 4th and 1 play, and you can't convert because you're dropping back the pass. It's like aren't you a run first game? Our team? Are you going to establish the run?
Isn't this Washington's defense?
Yeah. Aren't you going to lean on James Conner? And you should look at James Conner's day. He averaged 5.8 yards per carry, but when it was 3rd and short, 4th and short, you were looking to get too cute in the playbook. Like that's the stuff that stands out to me is like, that's weird. That's not something that's going to turn in and translate into consistent success down the line.
Well, Kyler Murray has not looked comfortable since LA. Like 2 consecutive weeks. Like at no point did it look like Kyler Murray felt good throwing the football in the pocket today. He held on to the ball too long. He had some passes that were overthrown, specifically to Michael Wilson. Like, and I don't, again, no Trey McBride. I mean, they had Trey McBride last week. The offense didn't look good. And it starts with Kyler Murray. I know I see a lot of people in the chat, rightfully so, are like, go after K1. Like, we're allowed to say, like, Kyler, as well as everybody else within the organization, let down this fan base today. It wasn't Kyler specific, but he played a part in it, just like Petzine and JG and Austin
Has
Ford.
there been any kind of like Kyler coping in this on the show?
No.
I don't think so.
Like Kyler Murray needs to play better. This offense needs to be better because I'm going to tell you right now, this defense, if this is what's in store for the rest of the year defensively, you're going to have to win. We talked about it. They're going to have to win shootouts to be viable, to get to, dare I say, like 500 this year or around it. Like you can't be expected right now to go into next week's game or the week after and hold teams under 24 points. Not the teams that they're facing offensively. So what's the end game? The end game is you got to have your $50 million quarterback play like that.
Yep.
And like we're going to talk about statistics later in the show, but I just organizationally right now, it's a big F. You had the luxury of taking it easy last year. You screwed around at the backup quarterback spot, Clayton Tune, Colt McCoy training camp, and everybody said, we're going to be patient because it's not Cliff and it's not Keim. We're going to take our time. And we ate crow for 17 games. And you had a little bit of momentum. And you got Marvin Harrison Jr. But you came into this year, fair or not, with new expectations. You can't ask any more patience from this fan base.
I mean, I think that's why people are so upset. That's absolutely why people are so upset. They thought this was going to be different. And the only thing that it's proved to you today is it's not. And is there a path forward under this current regime? Like you should trust Jonathan Gannon. You should trust Monty Osfort. They've done a lot of good work here. But at the same time, it is yielding the same results. And that's not where they should be in week 4 of year 2 of the rebuild. And especially to Johnny's point, when you're paying your quarterback $50 million. Like you've got to get a better performance. Like you can look at the numbers and statistically, they're pretty cosmetic. 16 for 22, a 72% completion percentage. Sacked 4 times doesn't help, but I mean, there's and didn't turn the ball over, but you did turn the ball over on downs. That counts to me as a turnover. It's cosmetically they don't look bad, but as far as the impact, they didn't make any. Like
no.
This was a game where the offense was non-existent. They scored 14 points against one of the worst defenses in the league outside of your own.
And it was a very difficult 14 points to come by.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned,
this was 14-7. You put yourself back in the position to come back, and you couldn't get it done, and then the game was over.
You got an interception from Garrett Williams. This defense is not going to give you those often. And would they go 3 and out right afterwards? I mean, there was no cohesion. This passing game looks broken right now.
Yeah.
Like again, we talked about a broken passing game before JG got here.
When you go against the grain, and like you can have this process in place to not play in the preseason, to keep your guys healthy, and I understand that, but that's why you also see teams that win a lot, Kansas City, at least utilize the preseason to an extent. If you're not going to do it, you better be pretty damn good. You can't be behind the 8 ball 4 weeks into the season. You can't. When you do that, it's not worth it, like to sit your guys in preseason.
Let me add on to that. When you decide, and I still think it's the right decision, to double down on Kyler Murray, you can't treat the rest of your roster as a full-blown rebuild, because then you innate expectations that are not realistic if you were to ask the Cardinals that. Jayden Daniels starts over with a clean salary cap, no expectations, come in. Same thing with Drake May and Caleb Williams. Kyler Murray is 27 years old, making $50 million. And with your efforts or lack thereof this offseason, you are treating this roster like it's year 1 for a 22-year-old quarterback making $7 million. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You either want to commit and build around a guy and elevate this team and coach him up and compete, or you're going to say, we're brand new. Last year was last year. We're going to cut our losses. We're going to start over. If you're playing a rookie quarterback this year and you're working through some things, we're going to have a little bit more patience. When it looks like that, you get no excuses. There are no excuses that can be made today. And knowing Jonathan Gannon like we do, like I don't think he's making excuses. I'm sure he's embarrassed. I would be embarrassed with the effort or lack thereof today. It did not look like the Cardinals practiced all week. I mean, you were at practice every day, so you can attest to it.
For sure.
But if I didn't know, and this is what we used to say, coincidentally, it's like a mind blown here. We used to say that about Cliff. The team did not look like they practiced. So I'm very disappointed, as you mentioned, for the people who invested time, energy. We had 2 fans of this podcast and of this team travel from England to Arizona to watch this team. And here's what I'm going to say this, and you can attest to it. You can comment on it. This is the only time I'm going to talk about it. The people who are upset about Cardinal fans selling tickets, I understand that, and it's disappointing, and it's something that I would never personally do. But then you watch that today, and the Washington sideline and the Commanders in general taking over State Farm Stadium, and you've got legacy players for the Commanders like coming out to midfield, and it's a coronation of Jayden Daniels. Michael Bidwell, have some pride. Have some respect so this doesn't happen. You did not put this team in a position to be successful this year, fair or not. You got the training wheels on with a quarterback making $50 million. Commit or don't commit. But don't be upset waiving ticket fees online to try to get people to come into your building, and it looks like that. Who wants to pay to watch that? I don't.
Yeah, you guys are crushing in the chat. We are going to get to all of your super chats, and I mean every single one of them. What'd you say, Damon? How many are there?
Currently, we have 50 super chats.
Holy hell, you guys are crushing it. Also want to point out, it was that Big L was saying, trying to trust the process. As a fan, I still believe, but today, truly embarrassed. I think that really does speak well for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, like hey, I trust that this team is going in the right direction. The draft and develop thing, that's how you can try to find consistent success, built through premium players at the top of the draft, and be able to find some guys, you know, from round 1 all the way to round 7, right? But at the same time, having to wear losses like this after you thought you were out of that part of this rebuild, it's a type of humble pie that you don't really want any fan base to go through. All right, let's get to some of these super chats. How about our guy Steven Jackson? Continues to be so generous with these. $99.99, $100 super chat from Steven Jackson. Is it just a super sticker?
I think he forgot somehow to put the message in there, so he sent another one for $19.99
You're
directly
the only
after.
person that's money today, Steven. This Cardinal team's bankrupt, but your money, my friend.
We appreciate it, Steven. Thank you so much. Here's $19.99 from Steven Jackson, $120 invested in this show. Thank you so much. Not taking points before the half, shotgun on 4th and 1, bringing in Pascal for a play, not targeting Marv after the first drive until it was too late. Speechless by Petzing's play calls in the game. Completely agree with everything you said there. The Pascal, like it almost at that point in the game, I was laughing because it was just keeping myself from going into a deep, inconsolable depression. Is you brought in Pascal to run block from the wide receiver position because he brings no value as far as catching the football. And who gets flagged for holding on that play? Zach Pascal. Unbelievable. Steve, thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve,
for those 2 super chats. If you meant to put something on the $99.99, drop in the chat. We'll read it free of charge. But we appreciate every single penny you gave us. Brandon Butterfield, $199. Let's get through a couple of these.
Yeah, bright side, we have great field level casitas. We joked about those, Brandon, in studio. The Cardinals are basically charging a premium for what equates to, it looks like, college dorm rooms on the field. But the good news is you can watch the Commanders celebrate in primo view from those. So
and Doug Williams is going to come down on the
Williams
field.
is out there. Clinton Portis is out there. We'll get
Riggins.
Mike Shanahan in midfield.
That's right.
Let's get all the Washington legends, and we can sit up there in our college dorms with our IMAX, and we can take in a Cardinal game. Love it.
Let's get on the big screen. RG3 and his entire 2012 offensive line. Thomas, $20.
Thank you, Thomas.
Big time, thank you. No effing comment.
And then he sends another one in with the exact same.
You're the man, Thomas. Hey, we got plenty of comments here because I hate that we have to do this. I mean, I love it because I love all of you, but I hate that, like, Jonathan Gannon is not a person I ever want to come on this show and ridicule because I think he's a good coach. I know he's a good coach. It was easy when you joined our show in that last year of Cliff Kingsbury. It's like people could see that coming from a mile away. And we let it play out, and it was a train wreck on and off the field and hard knocks. But we called for changes because it needed to be happen. I am just completely befuddled by what I witnessed today and what you all witnessed today. So thank you for that, Thomas. We appreciate that super chat. We got more super chats to read, as well as we're going to do some counting cards, and it could get ugly. But first, I want to talk to you about our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Listen, I know today was tough. I want to hang with you. I want to hang with Cardinal fans at Wild Horse Pass next weekend, and we can vent our frustrations together and maybe off to the side through our peripherals.
I'm going to hire a counselor to come hang out with us.
Watch the Cardinals play at San Francisco. Listen, if you're like, you know what, I don't really want to, do that, that's okay. We'd love to see you out there. But regardless, come out to Gila River Resorts and Casinos, specifically Wild Horse Pass. 4,500 slots, live table games. Catch the action at their largest sportsbook casino, which is elite. I love it so much. Taking my wife there. They've got A Shula Steakhouse. It's 114 degrees. Go and enjoy the pool scene. We talk about, like, you and I are pretty big Vegas snobs. We've been to every premium casino in Vegas that they have to offer, and Gila River Resorts and Casinos is right there, if not trumps many of the 5-star that you're used to. It's an unprecedented level of entertainment you won't find anywhere else. And again, not just cards watch parties. Our friends, Phoenix Suns, who we need more than ever right now. They've got watch parties right around the corner. Tip off later in October. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Play at Gila.com, Bo, for more information.
I'm not rooting for Kevin Durant after his tweet.
Yeah, come on, Kevin.
Loser.
Read the room.
Devin Booker, maybe. Okay, Sanderson Ford. We love Sanderson Ford. It's our official vehicle partner of PHNX Sports, and they want to get you in a brand new ride. Yeah, they got some great things going on over there. It's the no hassle, no pressure, no nonsense sales approach, which makes it easy for you to go car shop without the fear of somebody like, what's it going to take to get you in this car today? It's like, leave me alone. And they don't have that at Sanderson Ford. They got great people over there, including my guy, Ron. And they give back. They donate to St. Mary's Food Bank as well. Southwest Autism Research and Resource Center Military Assistant Mission. Just a few of the many places that they like to help give back to the community here because they're synonymous with Arizona. We love Sanderson Ford. It's family-owned, operated for 3 generations. Get deals on the 2024 Ford Bronco Sport, 5.9% APR for 66 months, plus $2,000. Must be financed through Ford Motor Credit OAC. Also, help us celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month with Dia de los Muertos inspired trunk or treat at Sanderson Ford. See dealership for details.
Trying to connect with our guy, Craig Morgan. I don't have any comments yet from Jonathan Gannon.
It's a clown show once again. We had dealt with this last week where we have access to the field and they got people who won't on the field. So that's good. It's good.
So just as soon as we hear from Jonathan Gannon, you will hear from Jonathan Gannon here. Drop a like on this video. Cliff's Revenge, sports hero, absolutely. Let's take a look. Counting cards. Brought to you by our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Kyler Murray, just 145 total yards again today. Passer rating was over 100. But again, watching this game, knowing Kyler Murray is not his best self, never did I think after that Rams outing, Bo, that we would see such a hard regression from K1. It's very disappointing. Again, on the season, 6 touchdowns to 1 interception. But it's about winning. Winning matters in the NFL. You're 1-3 as the quarterback of this team. Things are expected of you, especially when you make that price tag. The Cardinals have had a quarterback advantage and have lost too many times with K1 under center. So Kyler Murray, it's going to be a tough week for K1, you would assume. Until this team starts to win, nothing is secure. Nothing is guaranteed. So I know a lot of people are asking us to go in on Kyler Murray. Listen, 2 things can be true. He's the best homegrown quarterback they've ever had, and the potential's off the charts. But if he doesn't win and start winning along with JG and company, like, nobody's guaranteed to be around here.
No. And I look at 145 yards or the rest of the stats, and you see that he was turnover free as far as this game went. It's all empty calories
Right.
to me. I mean, it's you went and you loaded up instead of like protein-rich calories, it was all bad fat.
Yeah, it's like
So-
me eating cinnamon rolls last time. My wife's out of town.
In the dark
Yeah,
because your
right.
power went out.
I've
Yeah, 145. You mean you can don't try to dress it up for me. 145. The stats don't matter. The only stats that matter in this game: 45 to 14, including a James Conner, second touchdown of the game for this offense. At that point, what is it? 27-14.
yeah.
And you could have made it a game, and then what did the Commanders do? They just put it out of reach. The one stat in counting cards that I do think is noteworthy is the pick that Garrett Williams was able to get to stop the epic run by the Washington Commanders offense. At that point, it reached 16 consecutive drives where they had scored points. That's unreal.
Yeah.
And for Garrett Williams to go up there with one hand and then come down with the football and have the Cardinals going the other way, they're not able to cash in on it.
Yeah.
That was a big play for the Cardinals on defense that was absolutely necessary. It was like probably the outside of the Marv touchdown, and those are the few bright spots from this game.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, not because anyone on this show had that Garrett Williams as X factor on Friday.
Right. I did have that. Thank you for pointing that out.
Wow, why are we pubbing up?
I don't know.
I don't need that right now. Can I just say?
It just all felt very pointed from Bo that he was like trying to be like, hey.
Do you disagree that was like there was maybe two bright spots today? I can't point out one for Garrett Williams.
I have made 6 predictions to start this year. No, I'm sorry, 8 predictions to start this year. I am 0 for 8 in my predictions. As a member of this beat, we do Hold the Line on Wednesdays where we do NFL picks. Now, granted, I've been very aggressive with my picks, plus money every time. I'm 0 for 4 in my NFL picks.
So close, though, Johnny.
And I am 0 for 4 predicting Cardinal games this year. 0 for 8. It's truly a marvel. I hope you guys have won money betting against me. I really do. We're going to get back on track next week.
Good news is that next week you'll be taking the 49ers in our score predictions. So maybe we'll get back in the win column.
You do have
Cards
to do
fans.
That. We got to just see.
Well, we'll see. Cards might have a good week of practice. I might be back on them. This post-game show, it's frustrating, but I hope at the same time it brings you joy, brings us joy that we have a community like this that can come together and talk about this franchise and get through days like today. Because this was a complete joke, and we're invested in this team. It ruins your day, it ruins your week, and I'm for people saying, yeah, I'm not going to let it bother me. That's fine, but this is our team, man. We ride and die with our team, and when your team looks like this, number one, people have to be held accountable, and number two, we want to be able to provide a platform where you guys can vent your frustrations, because guess what? Nobody's wrong today. The people who are being critical of Kyler Murray, you are absolutely in the right today. The people who are being critical of Michael Bidwell, 100%.
Yep.
Like all of those comments and phrases and takes are warranted today. And so we welcome that. We welcome the feedback. And if you're new here, welcome. Like this video.
Even if you're a Commanders fan, you guys have every right to come in here, especially after all the nonsense we were talking this week, to sit here and spike the football. No doubt about it.
Yep.
I see, what do we got? Over 1,400 people, both on YouTube and Twitter. Make sure you drop a like in this. Get in the YouTube chat. Let's continue with some of these super chats while we're at it. We got a little time here. You guys continue to crush it. How about our guy Dawg? I've been a Cards fan since 1982, and this loss is right up there with the 58-0 game in Seattle. God, that was brutal.
Agreed.
I have doubts that Monty is competent at this point. Outcoached, outplayed, outclassed. There's nothing good about this team. Those are all valid, Dawg.
Well, I think the most painful part of that, Dawg, is that the 58-0 drubbing, just like Cliff Kingsbury 2 years ago, you could see the end coming up, and you had renewed hope. We just started this. This is supposed to be, we haven't experienced the fruits of our labor yet. And to your point, it's like you've had 2 off seasons and a year mulligan, and that's what you're putting out there for your fan base? Like, I don't want to hear about close losses to Buffalo and Detroit. Those are losses. You lose games, you lose games. There are no moral victories here. But I can tell you what there are embarrassing losses, and that's what you endured today. And the Kingsbury facet absolutely matters. I don't want to hear anybody say it's just another loss. No, You got boat raced by your ex-head coach that everybody deemed a joke, and he came in and easily dropped 40-plus points on you. And you look like a high school organization, Mickey Mouse organization against Washington, not the Steelers or, the peak Patriots or the Niners or the Rams. You let the Washington Commanders that were owned by Dan Snyder come into your building and smack you around with your ex-head coach for 4 quarters. Have some pride for your fan base.
With the quarterback that was outcast from Arizona State.
Yes! The headlines write themselves. It's a joke. You can't buy the number 1 receiver on your team's jersey. If I'm a fan, I would just want to support I can't buy his jersey. And my head coach got beat by my ex-head coach.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just give your fan base some hope here. If I'm Michael Bidwell, collectively, you need to have a meeting with Austin Ford and Gannon and just say, what do we need to do to win people back this week? What do I need to go spend? Who do I need to bring in? What do I need to trade for? Because I'm going to tell you now.
No, you're not pulling off a trade
well,
right now.
you know what I mean. The status quo right now is a joke. It's awful. People don't want to hear that.
You think that there is a kind of wake-up move made? I mean, now that can look several different ways.
Well, let's talk about it.
Yeah,
let's talk about it. I want to talk about Darius Robinson's, we assume, is coming back next week. That's not going to fix all your problems, and shame on them if they say, we're getting a big piece. Darius Robinson, I love him, hasn't played a snap in the NFL yet.
He's played 10 preseason snaps.
Yeah, Darius Robinson is a long-term play. Who's going to help you this year, and who's going to help you next week and give your fan base a jolt? I think there's a move to be made. You know what the move is. You need to call up the New York Jets.
No.
You need to call up the New York Jets. You need to offer a 4th-round pick for Hassan Reddick, and you need to pay
We're
Hassan
back,
Reddick.
baby.
We've never been more back, Damon.
Absolutely embarrassed. You don't get absolutely embarrassed 42-14, almost lose by 30 points, and then go out and make a move give up future assets for that. Like that, when I say prove it, this is the opposite of proving it.
You didn't get proved anything?
No, I got
proved that the players aren't good enough.
Right. Okay. How about Yanks 1999 super chat?
All right. We'll get now. Hang on. I want your take real fast, Yanks. Okay. Hang on a second. Do you think that like a play is the opposite, like a subtraction? Are you thinking like
I think somebody could get benched.
A certain maybe Pro Bowl safety?
No, I mean I would never. I don't know if they would ever do that.
Who would they bench? You're not benching Kyler. You're not benching Budda. You're not. Like the problem with a team that's lacking at depth and some stars. I mean,
but you still got a lot of young players that we haven't seen a whole lot of. There's a lot of spots that are occupied by people who, we're starting to learn and kind of know about now. Like if you got a 12-person draft class, and then another guy like Xavier Weaver who hasn't been active because there hasn't been a spot for him. Well, if you're 1-3. Well, you can probably find a spot for him. Let's see what he's made of. Let's see if he's somebody you can move forward with. That's where things start to shift a little bit.
Okay.
That's what I meant. It could look like different ways. Yeah, I don't know if anybody's bold enough to pull that move where you're going to bench, one of your big vets.
Budda played great 2 weeks ago, and then he's had 2, I think, lackluster games. I mean,
yeah. All right, let's get to Yanks real quick, and then 1999 super chat. Thank you, my guy. Hate being the couch coach, but Drew is way too rigid. He's not fluid and can't adjust. The D just got smacked up, but the O hasn't played complimentary at all. Alas, this was a trap game, and I think we all got ahead of ourselves for sure.
I mean, we talked about Yanks all week. Like this game should have played in the Cardinals' advantage in every facet. And not only did they lose it, I mean, it's one thing to lose like a walk-off field goal. And we were talking about the play call last week of the non-pick 6 by Goff. This game was over in the 3rd quarter. This game was done.
Yeah,
when Sean Murphy Bunting got that penalty, look over and Bo's like, the Cardinals aren't winning this game. They got beat in a humiliating fashion. Even Dallas losing to Baltimore and rallying back. And there's been some crazy, the Packers showing life today. The Cardinals basically said after that first possession, we're not going to attempt to put on a competent performance for our fans.
Yeah.
And that as a paying customer and somebody that you want to invest in your franchise, that's about the biggest middle finger that you can give your fan base.
like last week, you need a stop against the Detroit Lions offense, and they dial up a pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's in coverage, Sean Murphy Bunting. But that's Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's on a big third down. It's Jared Goff. It's the Lions doing what they needed to do to get a big road win. And sure, you can say, okay, they were just better on that play.
Yeah.
But when it's the start of the second half and it's 1st and 10, and you give up a 47-yard pass interference call that puts the offense on the 1 yard line on 1st and 10, a 47-yard penalty on Noah Brown.
Gross. That's one of the grossest.
That's Sean Murphy, like that's the stuff that can't happen.
Well, why was that play even available?
Right.
Because this team opted to have, in my opinion, the worst approach in modern NFL history to improving how bad their front seven was last year, and then doubling down on how bad it could be this year. They can't stop the run.
Right.
They were last against the run last year, and they did nothing. They added 2 defensive tackles in free agency that, I'm sorry, we can classify them now. Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones, if they're not outright busts as free agent signings, they're huge disappointments. And they didn't invest a lot of money, so you get what you pay for. You drafted Darius Robinson. He's hurt. That's not your fault. I love Darius. He's going to be a really good player. He's one of their best players during training camp. That's a long-term play. You had $70+ million. And you've got a bunch of guys coming off your books this year. James Conner, Budda Baker, Dennis Gardeck. You've got a bunch of guys. You're going to recoup about another 20 to 30, and you're going to roll money over. And you sat out free agency with your front seven. We sat here every day in March. You had opportunities to get better. You didn't. And so, none of us are surprised that they can't stop the run. Not only can they not stop it, they are non-competitive. When Jayden Daniels wanted to get the perimeter, when Brian Robinson, who is not good, and they don't have Austin Eckler out there, and he turns the corner outside their right tackle, who, by the way, Washington's O-line is not good. There's open daylight. How many times did I look at you during the game we were watching, and we're just like, where are the players?
Right.
Where are the front seven players? I've dogged on Dennis Gardeck and some of these front seven players. In all actuality, it's not their fault. No other team would ask some of these players to be starters for them. Contributors, sure, right? Rotational depth, absolutely. But there's a reason why ESPN and a lot of outlets picked the Cardinals to have the worst defense in the NFL. That is 110% avoidable and self-inflicted by Monty Austin-Ford. Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rallis can coach defense. The Eagles have been in shambles since JG left. The Eagles attempted to hire Nick Rallis. This is not on them. You want to count them, part of the blame today? Absolutely. But the fact that this team can't stop the run, it is a league based off of big men, athletic men who can do things that other people can't do. And so it's no surprise to start the second half when the Cardinals bite on the play action because they know we have to sell out for the run. And then Noah Browns of the world can just go run wild and deep on them. It's a joke.
Well, Sean Murphy Bunting was supposed to be one of their big signings.
Whoops.
So you got to get, if you're going to be, the guy that he watches tape, he knows ball, and he's going to take, the under the radar guy over maybe the more brand name player.
Yeah.
You got to be right. And he hasn't been proven right so far with some of those, like Yelda Froholt, you were proven right. There was a couple signings so far that you really like, that you've been able to move forward with that have helped this rebuild. But right now, I mean, the batting average, especially in free agency this offseason, it's not where it needs to be. And what the job of this organization now is to start to chip away at the narrative that has been surrounded by the negative, I guess, stigma this offseason is gonna surround this team going forward. 42-14, the Cardinals lose to the Commanders. It's unbelievable.
We're going to hear from Jonathan Gannon and Craig Morgan in just a second. But before we do that, before we jump in, I do want to tell you about one of our newest sponsors here on PHNX Sports, PHNX Cardinals, Blue Chew. How about Blue Chew? ALLCITY is the bonus code. Now, there are many things that, we want to talk about here with our friends at Blue Chew. But basically, I mean, you've heard of Blue Chew. And I got to be careful with what I say here because I am excited.
I think you're trying to find out what you can say
I am
versus what you can say. I mean, what you can say as far as the first impressions are always important, right? And they're lasting impressions. The lasting impression we have with this football team, not great. But the impression you can leave with our friends over at Blue Chew is a very positive one. How does Blue Chew work? Well, if you're asking a question, we want you to know that Blue Chew is putting their money where their mouth is by giving a month free. So you can check out Blue Chew without it costing you a dime. Check it out. You got Blue Chew online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at the fraction of a cost and in a chewable form. So they got so much for you, and it's not going to cost you anything to start out right now. So does it work? Don't you think you need it? Try it for free for a month and see. You're going to love it, and your partner's going to love it even more so. Check out right now, and we got a special deal for all our listeners or viewers out there. Try Blue Chew for free. Look, I mean, I know Commanders fans, you're watching, you're already very excited, but, you're not just going to be coming off a 42-14 win. You might need a little help, and you'll just pay $5 in shipping. BlueChew.com, promo code ALLCITY to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for details and important safety information. We thank Blue Chew for sponsoring PHNX Cardinals.
Thank you for both saving me from that read that I was about to bungle.
We honestly have like a list of things like that long you can't say. I'm like, where does the actual read begin?
I love Blue Chew, and I love what they do, and I love their partnership. I also love our friends at Branded Bills. Listen, Valley Sports, we got a lot of big-time losing that's happening right now. One of the best things that are coming from the Valley, our friends at Branded Bills, they're big-time winners because they put out a winning product. As you can see on full display here in the PHNX studio, we got a phenomenal Branded Bill ASU hat, and you can get hooked up right now with our friends at brandedbills.com. 20% off your first order. They've got partnerships with U of A, ASU. It's the campus collection. It is elite. Some of the best hats. I'm going to tell you right now, I take my youngest to school, and 1 out of every 3 hat I see is a Branded Bills hat.
Yeah.
And they are fantastic.
Taking over, baby.
Local company here in Mesa, Arizona. Hook you up. Trucker hats, snapbacks, fitteds, beanies. They've also got T-shirts. They are one of my favorite new partners. Again, check out their hats. U of A, ASU, whatever you rep, maybe both teams, get the exact kind of custom apparel you're looking for. 20% off your first order. Branded Bills. Head to them. Brandedbills.com. PHNX is the bonus code to save you 20% off. Can't wait. Do not wait. Get it now. We're not going to wait any longer. No. We're going to get to our guy, Craig Morgan. We're also going to get to some comments from Kyler Murray and Jonathan Gannon here. Let's bring on Craig Morgan on the field at State Farm Stadium, or what I like to call, Craig, the scene of the crime today for the Arizona Cardinals, basically telling their fan base, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. We're going to basically punt on a rematch revenge game. Cliff Kingsbury's offense puts up 40-plus points. The Cardinals no-show for 4 quarters. Craig, what'd you make of it?
Well, I just want to make this clear, first of all. I only have about 5 minutes because Cliff has invited me to the after party at his PV mansion, so I got to get out of here. Wow, guys. Listen, we knew there were going to be some problems on defense, especially with the injuries and, of course, all the deficiencies we've been talking about all season. I didn't see this coming from the offense. I don't understand what I just witnessed. And after watching this game, this performance, it's really hard to say that the Arizona Cardinals are progressing under Monty Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon. This was a big step back. This was an embarrassing loss. That's all you can say.
Yeah, absolutely. Fair across the board criticisms. Craig, I mean, we're going to hear from JG. We're going to hear from Kyler Murray, videos that you captured in the post-game press conference. But what can you tell us from that duo? What was the message from them after this horrible performance?
Well, it was a stark contrast to last week, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Both of them came out of last week's loss thinking, there are a lot of positives. We still feel like we're moving forward. We'll get some of this stuff corrected. When Jonathan Gannon was asked today after the game, what are the positives you take? And there weren't many. That's all he could say because it was obvious. I mean, what could you possibly, as I'm going to write in my column, what could you possibly feel good about from this game unless you're the mother of a player? It was a brutal performance on both sides of the ball. Kyler Murray really same sort of sentiment. He was the guy that was really pushing positivity. I felt in the last game against the Lions in that post-game news conference. He's frustrated. They can't figure out what they were doing today. I mean, we saw the fourth down play. It looked like there were guys open. He never got into any kind of rhythm today. Didn't feel comfortable. They look like they got the running game going early, and then that vanished as well. I don't know what's up with this pattern of having great opening drives and then the offense just going in the tank from that point onward. They have a lot to clean up because this was just a brutal performance. And I know Johnny's already been tweeting about this, but take a look at the schedule, fellas. Three of the next 4 games are on the road, and this team is sitting at 1-3. Not many teams make the playoffs out of 1-3 anyway, but the schedule's about to get nasty on the Cardinals. We could be talking about the draft instead of the playoffs very soon, guys.
Do we need to have tough conversations, Craig Morgan, about Kyler Murray? 2 games ago, he's the NFC darling. He looks phenomenal against the LA Rams, maybe the best game he's ever played. And then subsequently, Detroit, he was up and down. And today, I never thought, Craig, watching this game in studio, that Kyler Murray looked comfortable at any point. Even the opening drive, there was some errant throws. They opt to throw the ball on 4th and 1. That works out with the connection to MHJ. But from them on out, I mean, he was holding on to the ball for too long. I'm a very big Kyler Murray supporter and enthusiast. I believe in Kyler Murray. But this is going to be a very difficult week for K1 and his supporters, like myself, given the fact that numbers be damned, you have to win games at some point, making $50 million as your quarterback. Do you not?
No, completely agree with that. And listen, I was willing at least to give him sort of a hall pass off of last week's game because that's a really good defensive front he was going up against in the Lions. But we talked about this all week. This Commanders defense is not good. Take a look at the numbers. You won't find a number that shows them in a positive light. Somehow they managed to frustrate this offense. And this offensive line, by the way, which prides itself on being a physical running offensive line, well, they couldn't get it done today either. There are a lot of issues. Where are the playmakers? I mean, you can make an argument Kyler just wasn't getting them the ball today. You have to get the ball in the hands of your playmakers like Marvin Harrison Jr., who had the first catch of the game and then largely went silent after that. I can't believe that Trey McBride's absence means this much to this offense. I don't buy that for a second. This was just a poor performance. And yeah, Johnny, you're right. You have to look squarely at Kyler Murray at this point because he just didn't look, again, like you said, he didn't look comfortable. He just didn't drive this offense, and he obviously has to be the engine that drives this offense.
Yeah, that's a tough sell. I don't think anybody's buying in the Trey McBride missing.
No, they didn't score last week, and they had Trey.
The struggles were there even before then. I've been in that press conference room, following several losses before. It's tough to get information. Was there anything that you were able to get that shed light on what led to the team coming out, not ready to play, getting beat up, blown off the football off the line of scrimmage? Anything that you could use as insight on this?
Well, and you've been through this before. By the way, see what happens when you don't show up at the stadium, Brock? So they had JG. They called us right back as soon as we walked into the room because Kyler was coming. When we got back in the room after those 2 guys, you could hear the wind blow through there. There were very few players in there. We got Roy Lopez for just a few minutes, but he kept going back to it just wasn't good enough, and I'm not even sure what all the areas were that we need to improve upon.
Craig, we'll get you out of here on this. Big week ahead, obviously, as you go to San Francisco. The line is already out. The Cardinals are a 7.5-point underdog via Bet365 against San Francisco. I mean, do you believe that the Cardinals are going to try to double down on what's working, or do you believe that wholesale changes could be coming? I mean, fair or not, we're a quarter of the way into this season. They opted not for aggressiveness in free agency. They opted no preseason. At what point do you have to look in the mirror and say, what we're doing is not working, we need to make changes?
Well, Jonathan Gannon hinted at that a little bit. Didn't give specifics because, of course, they're going to go back and evaluate everything. But he said we're going to have to make some changes because what we're doing isn't working. It's pretty obvious at this point. So I don't know how wholesale those will be. Hopefully they'll give us some insight as we go along here. But this season's teetering on the brink already, guys. And we talked about the schedule. So you better get it corrected. Now I would expect this team to come out with a better performance in San Francisco. Is it enough to win? Do they need to make major tweaks? That we'll find out. But good God, they can't have another performance like this, because you can't sell progress. You can't sell anything off a performance like we just witnessed.
Brutal stuff, but great insight from our guy, Craig Morgan. Make sure you're going to check out the article. It'll be up. GoPHNX.com by later this evening. Craig, thanks for holding it down. Without me, I might not ever be allowed back in that press conference room going forward, but thank you so much, my man.
All right, guys. I'll see you next time.
Thanks, Craig. Again, Craig's article is a must-read. GoPHNX.com. You're going to want to check it out. Nobody works harder on the written side. Best articles in the Valley. Cardinals.
It's not going to pull any punches. It's not going to try to dress things up with stats or anything like that.
Yeah, it's not going to talk about the attendance record and the weather at State Farm Stadium. No, we're keeping it real. Let's get to some of those presser clips. Damon, Dawg, let's hear from Jonathan Gannon.
I mean, I think we had the long DPI, they score, and then we were going backwards and go 3 and out, so everyone's frustrated at that point, but I think then we might have held them to a field goal and then we scored, so we kind of got back into it, so that tells me that we're not down and out, you know what I mean, but it wasn't looking good right there, but they kept battling. I don't think there was confusion before the play. That was off of a timeout. I don't know what he saw, we got to convert that and score some points there.
Brief from JG. Again, Craig shed some light on a lot of what he said, maybe what we didn't get a chance to see, Bo. But even like listening again in there, like that's a head coach that is very frustrated, maybe surprised of the lack of effort. I don't want to say it's a head coach that's defeated. I don't believe that. But that was a somber Jonathan Gannon at the press conference just now.
When you feel like, especially what Craig was talking about, you had Kyler Murray, mostly Kyler, more so than JG, to be encouraged off a loss, but then to come out and not be competitive.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you question everything. It should. And it's nice. I'm not going to take any positives from this loss. But it is good to hear that the head coach is open to changes.
Yeah.
And like, is there people on this roster that when you interchange them is going to produce a different result? I don't know. I mean, that's a big question going year 2 in a year rebuild. Like, is it just shifting furniture on the Titanic? It's very possible. Damon, let's hear from the franchise quarterback, Kyler Murray, on the loss.
Really frustrated. To get beat like that at home, just in general, get beat like that. I thought we had a good week of practice. It didn't come out here and show it. Just trying to process, what just happened. Obviously, go home, watch it again tomorrow, and discuss the areas where we got to get better. Something's got to change. We weren't good enough today, and they exploited, our weaknesses. I mean, it was, we didn't play complimentary football. Every phase of the ball, we got to be better, because that wasn't the type of football, the brand of football that we want to play.
I don't know what changes can be made. Like, honestly, we're sitting here and we're like, in past years, you can say, bench the QB, get a different, position player, do X, Y, and Z, get the rookies in there. Rookies are already playing a lot. Tip Ryman's playing a lot. Trey Benson, James Conner's not the problem. You look on the defensive side of the ball, Max Melton's playing a lot. Darius Robinson's going to play a lot when he comes in. And maybe that's the part that nobody wants to say out loud is they're trying to get guys playing time, and maybe it'll come to fruition and be better by the end of the year. But again, that was an argument we've made for some time is you don't buy any credibility, even if you're trying to get guys exposure when you're not winning games. You got to be able to do both at the same time, develop and win games. And so I do wonder, the safety play was atrocious today.
Mm-hmm.
This was probably the worst safety play that I've seen from this franchise since Budda and Jalen Thompson have been together. Jalen Thompson has not played great, but I want to believe that the year we saw, the career year under JG last year, he can recapture. I wonder at what point you insert Taylor Demerson into the lineup in some capacity, who, unlike some of these rookies, showed a lot of promise in the preseason, has ball skills, can tackle at the line of scrimmage. Cardinals missed a lot of tackles today.
Bunch of them.
Budda Baker missed a lot of tackles today. I wonder if the Cardinals, maybe it's too early, maybe this would come closer to midseason, Taylor Demerson is going to be a big part of what this team does long term. I'm very confident in that. I've heard the same thing from this organization. Budda Baker's in a contract year. He's approaching 30 years old. Taylor Demerson, whether it's with Budda on the field or not, is going to need to see some more snaps. That's my ripping off the Band-Aid immediate reaction today. Because nothing else, if the Cardinals had an edge rusher to take over for their edge rushers or their defensive linemen, they would do that. Xavier Thomas is out there. On that last possession, Jayden Daniels threw a touchdown. Guess who shouldn't be playing? A 5th-round rookie for a team that has postseason aspirations. A 5th-round rookie trying to log you. Like, you need your best pass rushers in those scenarios. That's a discredit and a disservice, not from Jonathan Gannon, but from Monty Ossenford. Monty Ossenford failed Jonathan Gannon and the Arizona Cardinals up front defensively. You can only play the card, no pun intended, that you have. And when you're trotting out there an ACC 5th-rounder that had single-digit sacks at Clemson, with the game not on the line, but certainly, I mean, the game was still competitive or viable at that point, and I'm watching 54 out there. That's a F, an F- for Monty Ossenford, when you could have helped this team. So I don't put that on the head coach. And maybe that's why he looks so dejected, because he knows internally that they don't have guys that can win one-on-one defensively. They don't have guys that can consistently penetrate the offensive line and get TFLs when it matters most. When an opposing team this year has said, you know what, we want to run the ball at the Cardinals, there's been nothing they can do to stop it. And that's a failure of the general manager.
Well, it's in this day and age where dual threat quarterbacks are, I mean, you can, it's a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
And you happen to face more of the two like statuesque quarterbacks in a row, and you look decent. But every time you've seen a guy that can extend plays, you get exposed.
Not competitive.
Not competitive at all. Like what you saw, Jayden Daniels was able to make every single play with ease without anybody breathing down his neck, and that's a big-time problem.
Yeah.
Bo, I mean, we saw it in Indy. Yeah. Anthony Richardson was cooking this defense, and he
hasn't done anything since.
He looks horrendous playing this season. Like he's averaging like 100 passing yards a game essentially at this point. And he was like surgically lighting up the Cardinals defense at certain points.
When we hear guys like Kyler, when we hear via Craig Morgan that Jonathan Gannon saying like changes are coming. Yeah. You know, you start to think about where that could be. Like, is it going to be wholesale? Is it going to be guys who are starters are now benched? Is it guys that are going to be, you know, cut from this team? Probably not yet. That's a bit harsh. But I mean, you start to see it. It's like, okay, the offense is struggling. Where are they struggling as far as getting separation in the passing game? Who can get out there? Would Chris Moore be a better option to get some more separation downfield? You're seeing, and then you start to see, okay, schematically, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, and you're dialing up a passing play with receivers who can't get open. It doesn't make sense. The changes need to come as far as, hey, we just need to be able to convert a 3rd down into a 1st down, a 4th and 1 into a 1st down, and then get a new set of downs and move forward. Like that's where things have to start finding some positives. They've been atrocious on 3rd down the last 2 games. They got to find a way, and being able to do that on the fly, especially against the good teams, a great defense that they're going to face this week, and then the next week after that against Green Bay. I know they struggled with the Vikings today, but they're a very good defense, especially at home. It's daunting, man. It really is.
It's the chicken and the egg thing, whereas like you put the blame and the pressure on the offense because they have the talent and they should be better than this, or you put the blame and the pressure on the defense that was not addressed, and then you go back to the GM and you're frustrated, right? Like I can't take a franchise seriously when the year of our football Lord 2024 they're signing Angelo Blackson off the street and playing him real tangible first half snaps against Washington and expecting them to produce. It's like when you don't prepare for a test. Like you're trying to cram an hour before, you're trying to cheat on a test that you've had months to study for. You get an F as a result. Not an F because you're not smart, but because you didn't plan to prepare. You didn't prepare over the course of the offseason. Maybe you're not smart as a result. The Cardinals had the worst front 7 in the NFL last year and did marginal improvements, and then put too much on the plate of young players, subsequently lost one of those young players for the year, and are reaping what they sow. And then from an offensive standpoint, okay, then you look at that unit and say, all right, we need you to be way better. Yeah. And guess what? They've regressed. They've regressed the last 2 weeks. And you don't have a defense that can even come close to complementing that. Like, the Chicago Bears are 2-2 and are atrocious offensively.
Yeah.
But they have an identity with their head coach. They can take the football away. They can give Caleb Williams enough, and I know Caleb's a rookie, not comparable with Kyler, but they can give him enough opportunities with Montez Sweat off the edge and intercepting Matthew Stafford and giving them opportunities to win and grind out games. If the Cardinals want to play that style of game, their defense needs night and day wholesale changes. You've had opportunities to double down on what you believe your team identity is, running the football in line of scrimmage play. You get a big L. You get a big loser for how you attack that in the offseason. You went out and took a receiver 4th overall. You want to be a running gun, shooting offense? Like, you can't stop anybody. So when the offense looks like that, I would imagine you're going to get a lot of end results to look like this. Let's not, get it twisted. The Cardinals last week failed to cover the spread against Detroit. And then they got mollywopped today as a favorite. So now are you starting to see the pendulum swing a little bit from what Vegas initially told us this team should be to what they actually are? Like, they were great against the spread and won a game they weren't supposed to against LA. Now it's like, have they been exposed? The last 6 quarters of play,
right,
the Arizona Cardinals have played awful football. Awful.
And the ability to get back on track just becomes even tougher.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going up against the team that you weren't competitive against in either one of the contests last year. And I know they're without their top running back, but for the most part, they're going to be in a good spot. It's where they go from here, picking up the pieces on the fly. It's going to be a tough road. It's really going to be a tough road. And you talk about getting Rabbit Taylor Demerson in there. I'm sure you're gonna look at the snap counts and you'll see Max Melton playing more snaps at defensive back. I think you need to see that go higher and higher until he's playing close to damn near 100% of the snaps in the secondary. Just get him up ready to go, because if that's what this year's going to become, then might as well get these guys up to speed.
Feels like we're like 2 games away from
you
that.
are. Yeah, you are. And some of the games down the schedule look a little bit tougher than expected.
Seattle and Minnesota.
No doubt about it.
Those teams haven't lost games yet.
Right.
We're going to talk by the numbers here in just a second. But first, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about our 3-leg parlay with our friends at Bet, 365.
Yeah.
Boosted from 450 to 500. And we went 1 for 3. It's the first time we haven't gone 62%, albeit in a parlay this year. We did have MHJ scoring a touchdown. Maybe we should just have Marv scoring a first quarter touchdown every game. That seems like a lot. Kyler did not eclipse 250-plus passing yards, although there were opportunities, and Cardinals sure as hell didn't win this game. But I hope you guys were big winners, and big winners with our friends at Bet365. Sign up today. Use the bonus code. Deposit just $10. Place $5 on any bet. Across the board, NFL, NBA, just around the corner, Major League Baseball, postseason play. Can the Diamondbacks get in? You're going to get $200 in bonus bets. No questions asked. Plus, if you're feeling like, I want to bet on the Cardinals, but I don't trust them, how about the first bet safety net offer? By placing a bet up to $1,000. If your qualifying bet loses, you get those refunded bonus bets. No questions asked. So fired up to be partnered with our friends at Bet365. You do you, never ordinary. Download the app today. Bonus code again, PHNX 365 when you sign up. You do have to be 21 years and older and physically located here in Arizona. If you or somebody you know has a gambling problem, wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text NEXT STEP to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov, Bo, for more information.
I'm going to roll home. I'm going to stop by my nearest Circle K, walk into their very convenient little refrigerators.
The beer cave.
You did the beer cave.
With a K.
And I'm going to buy all of them. Everything they have. Everything they're going to allow me to buy.
Yeah.
And just go home and it's just
smart.
It is. Thank you. Of course, while I'm there at America's Thirst Shop, I'm going to save big with my free membership program that is the Inner Circle. If you're not part of the Inner Circle, you're just burning money. You're like betting on the Cardinals today. You just lit money on fire because you can save so much, not just on, at the pump, 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups and then 3 cents per gallon every fill up after that. And you'll reach another echelon where it's 5 cents per gallon. Like big guys like myself and Johnny who were rolling around and saving some money. You can become a member of the Inner Circle for free. Get those exclusive deals and discounts on snacks and at the pump. Enjoy your member-exclusive beverage deal. Any size Polar Pop or Frosted for just 79 cents. Join this Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply. Learn more, CircleK.com.
In the words of Cosmo Kramer from Seinfeld, look away, I'm hideous. It's by the numbers with the Arizona Cardinals, Washington Commanders. Let's get to it. Passing yards, a big fart, 233 to 115. Kyler Murray, again, just not getting it done through the air. Rushing yards, Cardinals for the second straight week give up over 200 yards on the ground without any kind of pushback. The Commanders averaged almost 6 yards per clip, 4 rushing touchdowns. Cardinals are just getting slapped at the line of scrimmage. Total yards, almost gave up 500 yards, 450 to Cliff Bar to 296. Both teams had a turnover. Cardinals' turnover was when the game was well out of hand. That just shows you, too, when the Cardinals are like winning or competing in the turnover battle and they're still getting destroyed on the scoreboard, that tells you there's a huge difference in talent, in coaching, all of the above, and then third down conversion. We mentioned it earlier today. Cardinals, dating back to last game at one point, 0 for the last 12 on third down. They were one of the best third down teams through 2 weeks of the season. Commanders legitimately did whatever they wanted to. I mean, it's just the grossest thing ever. The Commanders logo, Jayden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury coming into State Farm Stadium and having this kind of a performance. I mean, it's like no one's getting fired, but like those are fireable offenses in general for like anybody a part of this franchise right now. We're 4 games into this, and you let that franchise with that OC and that quarterback do this to you. Here's what I don't want to hear about. Jayden Daniels is a generational. Look at his stats. He's Tom Brady-esque. I don't want to hear that. You get like this is you should be embarrassed. The Giants almost beat the Commanders. You're the Arizona Cardinals with Kyler Murray and Jonathan Gannon. And people may say, well, what have you accomplished? No, this is the time that you carve out your legacy, your niche, and you let them just take over your building.
Yeah.
We mentioned earlier on the broadcast, Doug Williams is like on the sideline, coming to midfield, hanging out with Jayden Daniels. No, this is the Cardinals building. We're just going to take down the jerseys and the rafters and start putting up opposing players and teams. This is like you're letting people take over your stadium because you suck. You're getting worked by opposing teams. So, like, no clue people want to sell their tickets. They don't want to watch this.
Right. And then we're supposed to be, like, celebrating Jonathan Gannon, Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray finally found his head coach.
Yeah.
And then actually, like, here comes Cliff Kingsbury. He's got his wedding date, and he's fallen in love. He's got his long-term. He's got his future partner.
Yeah.
And you know, the Arizona Cardinals are fighting on the dance floor.
Right.
Like they're cussing out the bartender.
We've seen those couples at weddings where they literally just got married.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, oh no.
Right.
You guys just started.
Yeah. It just started, and it's true love. It's the right connection. And it looked like the right connection. And the Cardinals look like the wrong connection.
I can't believe we're here and doing this.
It's pretty crazy. It's insane because of all the hard work that's been put into this, the empowering of the quarterback, him trying to pay it back to the organization for finally doing that, the talk, all the talk, and it doesn't pay off with the results on the field. It just hasn't as of yet. Like 5 wins so far through, almost a season and a quarter. It's tough for Cardinals fans out there. It's a tough scene.
One thing I wanted to point out on this stats too is the turnover margin. Bo, you already mentioned it. They had a turnover on downs that was pretty crucial.
Yep.
You might as well add that into the turnovers here.
Yeah.
It's 2-1. And then the rushing yards, we talked about it while we were watching the game. They were begging you to run the football. They're up 3 touchdowns.
People are like, where was this earlier in the game? The Commanders literally are like, do whatever you want. We're up by 3.5 scores.
It doesn't mean anything.
Turn your brain on, people. Come on.
Well, and then you've got the crucial turnover on downs, and then like if Kyler didn't connect with Marvin Harrison Jr. on the first drive, like this is 42-7 game. Like you stalled out at the right before cashing in. Like you probably should have just run that ball. Thank God for Marv to the rescue, like in a nice ball from Kyler. But that's not I can't imagine that's like I'll have to look at what the probability on the pass and catches on that. It can't be like a high probability.
Just because it worked, it's not a good play call.
Right.
It's a bad play call. Bad.
I mean, I love it. I love every Marv touchdown. Sign me up.
I mean, that's all we have right now.
That's
it.
Legitimately
Legitimately all we have. Marvin Harrison Jr. is on pace for 17 touchdowns. That's our season right now. Congrats, Cardinals. You've broken us again. You mentioned all the hard work of this team. How about the hard work of this podcast? We've been carrying the water for this franchise like the big fanboy pom-pom waivers that we are. And that's how you repay us? With that kind of performance? We're not
just like guzzling the Kool-Aid. We're the Kool-Aid man. We're busting through walls and going, oh, yeah.
We do.
Let me tell you about Kyler Murray and Jonathan Gannon. And this is how they repay us.
We do post-game for preseason games. We do preseason game halftime shows when you feed us nothing.
Right.
You feed us Desmond Ritter's corpse for 2.5 preseason quarters. And this is how you repay us? Come on, Cardinals. Speaking of pay us, let's get to these super chats. These are the people that matter. These super chats, everybody in the chat right now, drop a like. The goal's 1,000 likes today. We're going to get 1,000 likes to stick it to this franchise.
We're going to rip through
We're
these,
not
right?
dead yet. Libertarian, let's do it.
Libertarian Sasquatch, I heard Manning with the Harrison is a good duo. Arch Manning, 3 total tutties over the weekend. Not too bad. What was he, like 26 for 31?
We're going to get Arch Manning. We're going to get the 17-year-old receiver from Bama. We're going to rebuild for 20 years. Let's get all these guys, for sure.
I hate that we're here.
It's not even October.
I said I wasn't going to look at the PFF mock draft simulator, and
You're so wrong
this
about
draft,
that.
I'm going to just say it. I don't like this draft. Last year, we romanticized about Marv. And look, I'm wearing a flippin' Marv t-shirt. He scored a touchdown today, and my team still lost by 30 points. It doesn't matter.
Alex.
Don't talk to me about Travis Hunter or Arch Manning. I don't want to hear it.
$9.99. Well, also because you're going to get like an interior defensive lineman.
This guy's from Toledo. He's awesome.
I understand. Not every rebuilding team can have Texans like jump, but damn it hurts watching these teams have such early success. Well, I was trying to figure it out. No doubt about it. That's the biggest pain in the backside here.
Travis Hunter saved me in the chat. You think Colorado gets work like every other set? Travis Hunter isn't saving the Cardinals. I need to be saved. What's next up? Damon Dawg, we got Rafter, $4.99. Imagine getting spanked by a coach in Cliff that you're still paying millions to. I mean, that's the irony of it.
That's right.
He's got a fat house here. He's probably Airbnb in it, and he's making money off of Michael Bidwell. He's making money off of Washington's ownership. That's the richest in the NFL. He's a playboy millionaire. He's basically Cliff Kingsbury might be Batman at this point. He just does whatever he wants. And he's producing at the highest level. He's going to be
up all his old flames from when he was out here. Feels like the big man in town.
I mean, like he is fair or not, he's completely reshaped his image.
Yep.
Like Steve Kimes getting paid by Rich Paul. Why are we still suffering?
There is some poor sap out there. And I mean this with all due respect. That's Michael Scott and saying I'm ready to be hurt again by Cliff Kingsbury.
Oh, he's going to get a head job. When you're doing this, fair or not, like if he can keep this up, and that's the big question mark, because where he gets hired is based off of what he does in September, October. If they're doing this in December, somebody's hiring him. He's getting a head job.
He doesn't do it in December. Check it out, the super chats. He hasn't, by the way, historically. Marcus used to love Kyler. He's a fraud. Coaches are frauds. All AZ teams are frauds.
I feel like a fraud today. I feel like a fraud.
You feel silly in your MHJ t-shirt?
No, because he's our best player. I love him.
He's the only one I'm not mad at right now.
I am mad at everybody but Marvin. Yes, Marvin, we love you. Just try to instill your wisdom on the rest of the team.
We'll figure it out. That's what we're telling them. We're going to figure this out, Marv. Just be patient. It's we'll figure it out by the end of your rookie contract. Mac Daddy 714-999. As a fan of 21 years, this is the first time I left a game in the third quarter.
Oh my God.
Today was a fireable day for K1, Gannon, the rest of the coaching staff. Disgraceful. Wesley, I'm sorry, man. That's who I feel for the most. The people who take their hard-earned money, they get season tickets or they just buy tickets to the game. They get to go through the entire ordeal. They navigate traffic. They probably go spend some time and some money at the tailgate, and then you go into a game that's not competitive from the very jump.
When you win and you build a culture of winning, then people want to come see you play.
Yeah.
Cardinal fans will sell at that stadium if you give them something to watch. Like if people in this economy can't afford $300 tickets, it's not just your single ticket. It's parking, it's concessions, it's a commitment, and I get that. I'm a father of 2 kids. Like I love this team in every fiber of my being, but if that's the product, and that's the experience I get where I'm just going to go into a deep, dark depression, as my co-host said. Who's doing that consistently? Like, you need to just be better. Other franchises figure it out on a dime. Green Bay never rebuilds. Like San Francisco, Seattle, these other LA just won a Super Bowl. Figure it out, and they have smart people.
Yeah.
Like I'm dumbfounded by today's results because I know the quality of person and professional that Ossenford and Gannon are. So I'm sure people are like, well, the common denominator is Bidwell. Well, that's not changing. I see a lot of like, sell the team, blah, blah, blah. Like, he's not selling the team.
Right.
Michael Bidwell owns the team. He's not getting rid of the team, just like his dad owned the team. But I know Ossenford, and this is complete BS. Ossenford was not given a spending cap. Keim could burn through money, and it didn't matter. Ossenford was in control, and you can take this to the bank. I have this 100% source of the budget this offseason. He could have bought and spent anybody he wanted. And he opted to say, nope, we're going to draft and develop. I'm going to make some strategic moves in free agency. We're going to roll some money over. Okay, this is the end result. And Gannon prepared or didn't prepare the team this week. Like, say what you want. Like, Michael Bidwell is not without blame. But since Keim and Kingsbury were ousted, this has been the Monty and JG show. So they have to take this on. Everything that I have heard about Michael Bidwell since Gannon and Ossenford took over is very complimentary. And I know that doesn't fit people's narratives today, and he's been a huge problem with regard to the history of this franchise and them not winning. But like Ossenford and Gannon have to take blame today. This is not exclusive to Michael Bidwell. That's all I'm saying. And that includes Kyler Murray too. Everybody failed this franchise today.
Greg, 199, only allowed to draft D linemen for the next 10 years, or just linemen in general.
Yeah.
Not a bad approach. Cruz, 499. Now, how are your feelings about your buddy Drew Petzing?
I mean, whose buddy is he? He's not my buddy. He's my frenemy right now. I want to give him a big
definitely
bro.
Bo, right? Bo's best friends with everybody on the Cardinals.
I feel like Bo,
we've kind of come to that.
We've courted him to the dark side. You get Bo into this studio, watch a game with us, and we start letting the expletives fly. And Bo is thinking
he's getting nasty all of a sudden.
That's right. Yep.
I don't have calm, cool, collected Craig Morgan next to me. Honestly, what wins are we getting after this? Eris, thank you for the 199 super chat. Chaz, not a fan of alcohol, but after this, we're going heavy.
I mean, it's a great choice.
Use Z-Biotics beforehand.
That's right.
Be responsible.
Yeah, don't pay for it the next day.
Yeah.
You don't have to make that choice any longer. Noah Harper, 499, cutting the sleeves off my MHJ shirt for Tank Tuesdays. That's blasphemous. Who are we taking in the top 5 next April? Also, welcome back, Johnny Ralphio.
He'll be back this week. Prepare yourselves. Prepare your mind and your body when Bo least expects it. Here's what I'm going to tell everybody right now with regard to
Johnny Ralphio watch.
The NFL draft. If the Cardinals are picking top 5 in the NFL draft, a quarterback's in play. Fair or not? Do you agree with that? Like, if they're picking the top 5 and there are viable quarterbacks in the draft, is a quarterback in play for them? If they suck that bad this year?
I am the latter there, though. Like, kind of skeptical, like, what quarterbacks are there.
But just
Carson Beck, no thanks.
Let's just say in like a hypothetical world, there's like 2 to 3 quarterbacks that people like, and the Cardinals are picking in the top 5, like the quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean that's what
that's the NFL.
That's the league, no doubt about it. Baharo 3, $2. Thank you so much. Vastly overhyped talent on offense. Speed? Nah.
I don't know if we did. I think it's a gross mismanagement of coaching, and I think it's a quarterback right now that's out of sync. Because this offense looked awesome 2 weeks ago. I have immense faith in Marvin. I know Trey McBride's a killer. Michael Wilson's very good. Greg Dortch is good. Like, they have good players. It's defensively, it's a personnel problem.
They need to get open though. They need to find ways. They need to start getting open. And I don't know why this might have been a product, a Cliff on the other side in helping Dan Quinn get his defense ready. There was just no Kyler getting out and running today. Alex, $2. We blame Cliff after today. Is it a K1 problem?
K1 was not part of the solution today. How about that?
No, nobody was part of the solution today. Nobody should be holding their head up high. And I know we joke and we say Marvin Harrison Jr. is,
he's abstained. I'm fine. I have no issue saying that. Marvin Harrison Jr. is abstained.
How about our guy Bang GX saying my love for this game is going away?
seen a lot of that today. I'm quitting this fan base. I hate this team. I don't want to watch again. I sympathize with all that. I'm not going to not continue consuming this team. Because
life after BA has been very tough.
Yeah.
Even the end of the BA was tough. It was not hitting expectations for 2 seasons.
I mean, think about it. We've watched 28 games, and they've won 5 out of 28. That's like Browns, Lions, bottom feeder.
Carolina.
Yeah.
At PHNX 499, if it comes down to it, I'm still taking Kyler over Petzing. People say we're not handling Marv right. We're still not letting Kyler thrive.
I think.
Then he adds Petzing.
I think, Drew on StreamYard on YouTube.
Drew's watching this.
I think Kyler Murray would be more attractive to the NFL than Drew Petzing right now. I agree with that.
I mean, I heard Bob Myers, who was the architect for the Golden State Warriors, say that you always lean towards it's easier to fire the coaches than fire the players.
Yeah.
So no doubt about it. Dana R, $5. No push in the run game. The passing game handed the slow reads. The ball is not out on the drop back. Defenses have time to react to the breaks. No doubt about it. Indecisiveness crushing the rhythm and timing passing game. It just wasn't there. It was non-existent. Baharo 3, $2. Baker and Darnold living their best lives. #culture.
And that's a big reason why I think a lot of us are not ready to bail on Kyler Murray, because you see other quarterbacks with an ounce of his ability, and it just took the right situation. And I thought, and I still would like to believe that situation is here with this coaching staff, but maybe not. I don't know. There's a lot of football left to be played, but it's not headed in the right direction. I'd be naive to say it was.
A bunch of chats from our guy Dylan Peters. Let's highlight some of them. Thank you for the $1.99. O-line sucks. Also saying $9.99. Keep Kyler. Everyone is overreacting to him, but the O-line sucks and we have no QB pressure. Why is every tackle we make go forwards, not backwards? Keeping it going here. Kyler played bad because he had 0.5 seconds to throw the ball. Start with the O-line, D-line drop passes, and play calling before we blame Kyler. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for those super chats, Dylan. You know, I mean, if you were look just pound for pound, if you were look at the offensive lines, like I'd take the Cardinals offensive line over the Washington Commanders, but the Commanders offensive line kept Jayden Daniels completely clean today. He had more time than he ever needed to throw and make plays downfield. And that's a product. That's a testament. The scheme worked out and players making plays.
I just think today personnel be damned. Like they just you quit today.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the hardest thing to look. You got run over, and that game was never competitive. And that's the hard. You would love to be able to see competitive football and winning football every week, but when your team quits like that, that's when people just completely check out. So I understand that frustration. Jacoby, $4.99. K1 could be better, but can't put all the blame on him. Defense giving up 41 with drives, having 3rd and 11 being converted. Drew Petzing's play calling is yawn. The defense is bad, and so when the defense is bad, you need the offense to pick it up. And the problem is, you can make an argument that the offense has been worse the last 2 weeks. So they've won 1 game in 4 outings, and most of those outings, the offense has sputtered at times, and that can't happen if they're trying to be relevant this year.
Little KZ, get rid of Kyler. Bidwell, sell the team. Mr. Grimm, $10 super chat. Truly, today felt like a turning point where we are not worth watching. All I can hope is PHNX Sports doesn't quit on us all season. We got you every single game and beyond that. Trust us. Adam H.
You can't make us quit.
No.
We'll never log off.
I'll never log off, Mr. Graham. You'll always see me.
Adam H., this is bad one, guys. It's as close of a direct barometer you can get. They were against a rookie QB team that's way earlier in what they admit is a rebuild with your old coach calling plays. Yep, no doubt about it.
It was a horror show. Yep. I know Halloween's a month away. That was like Halloween today.
Yeah, this was our own personal nightmares.
Yep.
Alex, can you stop calling teams a joke or frauds, Johnny? It's come to bite us in the ass every time.
No, I'm going to double down on it even more now.
Is
Alex.
that Johnny's fault? Is it Johnny's fault?
Yes, I take the blame for the loss today.
We have a lot of Commanders fans watching this stream right now, and they are really not happy with us in our analysis of in previewing the game all week.
If I'm not going to talk smack about Cliff Kingsbury's failures here and the Commanders' joke of a friend, congratulations, Commanders, you're 3-1. Awesome. You beat the Cardinals today, who've won five games in 28
The Commanders
tries.
are winning the NFC East. They're going to the Super Bowl this year, John.
That is brand news to me.
They've beat 3 one-win teams.
This is more about the Cardinals than the Commanders today. I'm sorry.
It is. It absolutely is. Enjoy like the new direction of the organization. That's great. Look, I grew up in DC. Like I know how tough it's been there. But like to say, hey, like this is who we are as Washington Commanders organization. We just win football games. Like and Cliff, like I was watching that in four years and then dating back to his Texas Tech days, can't finish. So unless there was some sort of like magic potion that taught him how to finish at the end of the season, I mean, you still got a lot to prove as an organization, but you kicked the crap out of the Cardinals today. You absolutely did. And you kicked the crap out of the Bengals. You have a lot to be excited about.
It's already been a successful season for them.
Yeah.
Cardinals, this is a nightmare. DD 199. We need to seriously look at K1 as our QB. I think can I just say this, DD, and for everybody anti-K1, you're not getting a replacement for K1 this season, but that doesn't mean that they could move off of him in the offseason. But this would have to continue throughout 17 games. The good news is I think you're gonna have a definitive answer one way or the other by December, January. If he plays better, they'll keep him. If he doesn't play better or he gets injured, they'll replace him. But they're not replacing him with Clayton Tune. They're going to give him an opportunity to play out this entire year, and then they're going to have options. So people who like if you've been anti-Kyler Murray, then this is a good day for you. But if you're people who are rational and say he's talented, I like him, but he's got inefficiencies, he's not playing well, then I applaud you. Let's wait and see how it ends. Because it could very well end in 3 months. But here, the big difference is where they were picking, like they were always going to pick Marv. So they weren't going to take Drake May, Jayden, and Caleb. Those guys were gone. You know, Jalen Hurts was taken in the second round once upon a time after Carson Wentz was a top pick for a different regime. Like it happened. So I'm rooting for Kyler Murray because I believe in him. We saw greatness 2 weeks ago. We can see it again. But the beauty of the NFL is, whether it's the coach or the GM or the quarterback, if you do not produce, even if you're getting paid a bunch of money, teams in their ownership, yes, even Michael Bidwell, will pay the dead money and get somebody else. Cardinals at some point have to just say, like, we've had enough losing. We need changes. And I hope it's this regime and this quarterback that steps in and says, enough's enough. We're gonna act on it now. Yeah. Because no more excuses. No more of this. Whatever this is.
Let's get through a couple of these super chats
Let's get to Peter Cuthbert, 20-pound super chat. I'll read this one because it's a little bit of a trigger warning. It says, at the game today, as we say in the UK, utter poop. But he didn't say that. And he said, I will be back next year, though.
Peter, sorry that that was the game performance you got to see. That is brutal to travel all that way and to see the team that only had to go 20-minute car ride not show up. Nick H, $5. Kyler's mannerisms when he was under Cliff came back tonight, frustrated, uncomfortable, pouting. I'd move on from him before Gannon and Monty, so he would move on from the quarterbacks to the coaching staff.
I do think like you would get that. I think you would get a new quarterback before Michael Bidwell loves Austin Ford and Gannon, and I think that it would be easier to say Budda and Kyler and James Conner and these guys, not necessarily in that order, but like let's let you double down on your picks and your free agent signings, and let's try it again at QB one last time before we part ways with you.
Alberto, $4.99. How does the first drive work so well and fall apart after that? Who do you blame? I mean, you're scripting up, a good first drive, and then after that, once the defense starts to learn about you, about your scheme, and I mean that comes on the play calling. I think it's their defense is doing a good job early on after kind of knocking the cobwebs off of a first drive. The Cardinals have been phenomenal first drive. I think they've scored on every first drive so far this season. But it's after that where they seem to go quiet and stagnant. Ethan, $4.99. I'm done with this offense. Trade Kyler. We need a whole new offense. This is a franchise that needs a new look. I love K1, but damn it, our culture is lost. Let's not look. I'm not ready to throw away the entire culture right now. I think what they've really done, culture-wise, it's been fantastic. But today, it's questioning everything is fine. You absolutely have every right to do that. David,
real quick, Ethan, on that point, what if they go out and they say to themselves, "We've hit a low point," and they beat the Niners next weekend? Like, it's the NFL. That can happen. The Niners lost to Minnesota badly. Like, I'm not saying
the
it's
Niners right now.
What if they went out and did that though? Then everybody would be back on. It just anything can happen. And
how are they going to stop the Niners' run game? That's what's scary to me.
Yeah. But we had these questions before the season started, and they were okay with it.
Yeah, but we thought that they were going to at least be able to score.
Well, maybe they have like a Rams renaissance offensively next week. I don't know. If we're sitting here, okay, you guys want to talk doom and gloom? Let's do that real fast. I know we have more super chats.
Yeah.
If we're sitting here and it's like 1-6, 1-7, like what happens then?
Well, I mean, the thing about, and this is something that when the schedule came out, you realize that was a dark reality, but something that was possible, considering looking at the teams they were playing, and not just based off of the offense going away, but just how they would have to beat teams they weren't expected to beat. Like if it just went based off of what the odds were, Cardinals would likely come out and they're only favored so far through 2 games. What are they going to be favored going forward? Like that was a very, that's the worst of all realities, but it's possible. I mean, I think maybe more so than beating the Niners next week. I don't know. Like to Damon's point, I don't know how they slow down Mason in the run game, and what Brock's able to do extending plays. I mean, they would have to completely do an about face with how things are going right now for this organization.
But back to the original point is that they've made this bed themselves.
For sure.
They're like the officials didn't steal the game from them last week. They lost to the Lions like they lost to the Bills, like they lost to the Commanders badly. So if they start 1-6, 1-7, like you have to wear that.
Right. And also historically it doesn't say that the new regime is a failure. It's a hard start, brutal start. It really intensifies the heat underneath their seat, right, from general manager and head coach spot. But you have the ability to correct the course and finish, stronger and develop these players because that's what they are and gain some momentum. But I mean, it still puts a lot of pressure on you in year 3 of this rebuild.
Yeah. I don't want to hear year 3 in a rebuild. That's a joke. Here's what
that's when you should be.
But what's the expectations then? Playoffs and winning playoff games? You're going to go from 4-13 back-to-back years to making the NFC Championship game? Like the trajectory here, and it's the argument that you and I had in different ways this offseason.
Yeah.
You've made it too easy now with your lack of urgency from the preseason and free agency and the drop balls that you've had at your feet. You've exposed yourself. It's one thing to say, and we talked about it, you sign a bunch of high-priced players in free agency, they get hurt, right? And then you just say, well, guys, we had a plan and this happened. But you didn't do that. You punted on free agency again for the second offseason, and then you went into the fall and you didn't participate in the preseason, and you've come out slow in a lot of ways, up and down. I think the most frustrating part in all of this, Bo, is that you and I feel like in different ways that maybe this was avoidable. And the Cardinals took a different path. And it was a path that a lot of us said, no, we've seen this before. What are you doing? What's the timeline here? I don't want to go into reality. This has been my most consistent point. You can attest to this for 8 months. I don't want to go into a position with this regime and this quarterback where it's like a make or break year in year 3. Mm-hmm. That could have been avoided. You could be viable right now. You could be 2-2 and 3-1 right now. But you chose a different avenue in which I will never be of the mindset that a rebuild takes more than 1 year when you're paying a quarterback this amount of money and you have this much confidence in your head coach and your GM. This is not Major League Baseball. This is not the NBA. Everything can change on a dime. And the Cardinals opted for a very conventional, conservative approach that I think could end up getting people fired and having to start over again. And nobody wants that. They dropped the ball again.
David, $9.99. Marvin only had 4 targets the entire first half, 6 total That's pitiful run play called on 3rd and 30+. This offense is not good management right now. Kyler, I agree with that, but time for draft talk now, not this show right now. I refuse.
I don't want to.
Baharo, GM from the Titans and OC from the Browns, looks like it. Look, he was part of a I mean, Monty was part of a Titans front office that was the top seed in the AFC.
This is the same Monty Ossenford that everybody told me we shouldn't hire because he traded away A.J. Brown. Did you know that? Did you know Monty Ossenford?
He did that?
He did that. Monty Ossenford
Wow.
did.
Did he have Robinson tied up?
What's crazy is
And
everybody
made the call to Philly?
Everybody that Ossenford is associated to in Tennessee has been fired.
Right.
So,
and Rand Carthon's doing a great job.
What's really gross is that the Titans, like, only reason their defense is pretty decent is because they're D tackles, and then you watch the Cardinals D tackles play football, and it's just devastating.
Monty traded away A.J. Brown, but he didn't. Did he draft Jeffrey Simmons? Where does he get credit for that? Or no?
I don't think he was there when they drafted Jeffrey Simmons.
Okay, so he doesn't get credit.
No.
Okay,
he was in New England when
they traded A.J. Brown.
I like Monty Ossenford. I think he's a very good drafter. I love the picks that he's made early in the draft. I think he is very average to below average attacking needs in free agency for a team that clearly should have been
good at finding free agents in the NFL.
I'm sorry?
Who's good at finding free agents?
I thought you said he's good at it.
No, who?
Houston, Minnesota. Minnesota went out and got Jonathan Grenard, and they are stomping a mud hole in everybody. And they have a year 2 coaching staff. Hello, Brian Flores is in year 2 as his DC.
Yeah.
Just D'Amico Ryans, he's got a hotshot quarterback. They went out and spent money. I'm never going to be okay with this team not spending money, ever. You want money for people to pay for tickets, and people want to invest their money in premium seats and jersey sales and travel and all this stuff, and you sit on $25 million, shame on you. You get an F. You get an F from Johnny Venerable. You failed this franchise in March when you're spending money on Bilal Nichols. I don't even know, like, let's be real.
Yeah.
We had to Google who that was in free agency. Who's he play for? Yeah, I've heard his name before. Justin Jones, who the Chicago Bears let walk. You gave him $30 million. F, right? I like Mac Wilson. You went into the season saying Dennis Gardeck, Zaven Collins, B.J. Ojolari, we're set. You're not set. You needed more help. Those guys are fine in the roles that they have. It's going to be a sticking point until they figure it out.
Our guy Lauren, who made the trip all the way from England and stopped by Chicken and Pickle, powered by Sanders Ford, our tailgate. Great seeing him out there. Wish we could have been there ourselves. 5,500 miles and thousands of pounds for that. 5 home games, 5 losses for me. Anyone want my flight and game tickets for next week?
Lauren,
man, that is tough. I apologize.
Monty Ossenford should call you directly with Michael Bidwell on speaker, and they should apologize to you. You guys should be on a 3-way conference call, and they should say, Lauren, I'm so sorry. Do not abandon us. But you know what? You're not going to get them, but you get these 3 schlubs right now. We are so sorry you had to endure that, Lauren.
Door Gunner, $5. Thought you predicted a comfortable win. Dropped that 40 burger on you. Admitting you had a bad team and predicting comfortable win is wild. Hail to the Commanders.
Good stuff. Good, respectful super chat.
We were wrong. We are dumb. You were smart.
I've never been more wrong.
You are good looking. We are not. We're ugly.
Well, one of us.
Commanders and your hashtag you refused to
You've
change.
taken over our stadium.
Yeah.
We're gonna get all the Hall of Famers from the Commanders. The Cardinals are gonna just bow out. Michael Bidwell is gonna, just like he does the Super Bowl, come and take over our stadium.
Oh, you're talking about Washington, D.C. West?
Yeah.
Is that State Farm Stadium?
Let's get Kurt Warner's number out of the rafters. Let's get Doug Williams up there.
Yeah.
Every week. And then a couple weeks when the Chargers come into town.
Put Heath Schuler's number up there.
We're going to honor LaDainian Tomlinson at halftime on ESPN Plus with nobody watching. We've got a whole outline for the rest of the year. Opposing fan bases, coaches, players, and executives come out to State Farm Stadium.
Right.
It's a home away from home. Mm-hmm. It's why they're building that huge Renaissance theme park across the street, because we really want you to come here.
That's right.
And enjoy yourselves and take over State Farm Stadium.
That's right.
Thank you so much. While we lose and get our you-know-what rocked
you
by
leave
Cliff
your government
Kingsbury.
job.
Get out of your hellhole of a city that's cold, probably just cold and gross right now, and come to Arizona where it's beautiful.
I flip and love it here. I'm never leaving Arizona.
Yeah.
And the people who come here that take over State Farm Stadium feel the exact same way. They're just like, we're here for life now. Welcome, friends.
What a hidden gem here in the desert. Ant Bean, 199, tank for Manning. And let's repeat history.
Is Arch Manning even draft eligible?
Next season.
Yeah, redshirt sophomore. So is he redshirt sophomore?
No, he's a redshirt freshman right now.
All right.
After next season, he will be
3 years
draft
removed
eligible.
from high school.
Will I even be around then? Like those are the questions where you talk about. Like we start talking about drafts like at the ends of the 2020s. Like, come on, guys, is the internet even going to be around?
Where are you going to go?
Is this going to be a thing?
Carry on Tillman, 999. Petzing is handicapping this offense. It's time to change. K1 playing his best ball, and Drew refuses to let him cook. I love Connor, but he can't be the only name on the play sheet. Let's just go through a couple of these here. Edgar, I agree with that. K1 was wrong, but bet the under. LOL. Jonathan, Jalen Thompson's effort tackling Commanders on second TD was bench worthy. Charlie, our resident Chargers fan, 199, saying let's sulk together. Did they end up losing to the Chiefs?
Yeah, they lost.
Sorry,
and
Charlie
comes back with another super chat here. Says probably not a good omen that JG and Brandon Staley are best friends. Take it from a Chargers fan.
We love you, Charlie. We love MHJ more though.
Brian L, $5. Kyler Murray, 1 rush for 3 yards. If Kyler doesn't run at all, we won't win. Also, our O-line is trash. Our D-line is trash. Our corners are trash.
Dylan Andrews put in the chat earlier that the Cardinals are 0-14-1 when Kyler rushes for 4 or less attempts in a football game.
How about our Schlemenschlag, $5. I've defended Kyler for 5 years. At some point, is his fault. He's injury prone. Can he never stay consistent? Petzing was awful, but so was Kyler.
It's a hard day to defend Kyler Murray with that performance today against that defense.
Trevor Begay, $4.99, was at the game, heard nothing but boos, got owned by Cliff. Only thing entertaining, seeing the fight break out in section next to me. DarkCon Gaming, $2. More Commander fans today than Cardinals.
5 wins in 28 attempts will do that. People don't want to watch losers.
Brian L, shout out from Hawaii, though. Sorry, y'all Arizonans dealing with the heat. Hashtag Kyler, run the damn ball. DarkCon Gaming back.
I'd feel a lot better if I was in Hawaii right now.
That'd be nice. We had Cardinals fans continue to scream, Salt Lake City Cardinals. Good Lord. At Cardinals sidelines look like it got to them.
Stop. I don't want to do that. Don't do that. Cardinals aren't leaving Arizona. They'll be here forever. Just like us. We're never going away.
Lynx, $2. Kyler got outplayed by a rookie. No more excuses.
Again,
Lynx.
Kyler Murray's gonna have to earn it this year.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Let's keep it going.
chats.
We're keep going.
You want me to read some? I'll take some.
No, I got it. Patrick Early. Been a K1 since day one believer. Enough data to this point to show he's fair weather QB talent. Streaks, but not a game-winning, get the job done quarterback.
It's got to play better. Got to play better or they'll find somebody else.
Charlie, shame Kia Cliff wins in AZ.
It's a damn shame, Charlie.
Kia Cliff.
I feel like that's disingenuous, Charlie.
Logan with the 199 super sticker. Tommy, $5. There is a lack of true leadership. JG talks about taking account. Accountability for poor play. We need to start seeing results from him, coaches in K1.
Can I comment on this? Because I think it's an excellent point. I don't care about Boy Scouts in the locker room if that's the effort and the output I get. Like at the end of the day, like if you're a good dude, awesome. I want good dudes in my locker room, and this team I've been told, I have the source, very careful with who they bring in. Right? They want to make sure that the good dude, and I get that. And the Cardinals have had a lot of guys who didn't love football. But that doesn't mean that you can just bring in guys that were captains on their college teams and good guys around the NFL if they can't play. Like we were saying this offseason, it's a performance industry. Like stop giving out contracts to guys that you guys like that other teams are saying, yeah, they're good guys. Why are those teams letting them go? And you're paying them marginal free agent contracts. Like, at some point, it's got to be about the players that can help you win. You know who are winners? Marvin and Paris Johnson Jr. And kudos to you. You took them early, and those have been home run picks. Do more of that. Emulate that strategy in free agency. Like, I don't care if somebody was a captain at Boise State 6 years ago. Can they play football now? Can they rush the passer? Can they stop the run? You can't. Enough of this. I don't want to hear about culture and good guys. You are losing too much. You're losing people with that messaging. Stop.
Angel saying for $10, thank you, Angel. With such negative feelings about all levels of this team and organization, where can we look for positivity?
Right here.
Marv.
Right here.
Mostly Marv, though. Logan, $4.99. Talk with your money. Let the entire stadium fill up with visitors. If they don't spend money on the team, why should outlets? That was embarrassing.
I mean, yeah, Cardinal fans, if they don't like what they see, and this is true to any fan base, they're not going to support it.
Yeah. The 90s Poppy, $2. Sick to my stomach with the offense and season play calling. Thomas, $10. Super chat. Thank you, Thomas.
Thanks for all your support, Thomas.
Thank you, Thomas.
Yeah, huge. I have a comment. Stop saying Kyler's potential after 5 years.
It's fair.
And then saying Kyler lost the Fault Bowl to Kingsbury. So whose fault was it? It's Kyler's fault. Jeremy Mitchell saying, hey, crew, glad to be here. New season. Love the coaching staff. We don't have enough talent yet, period. So Jeremy wants more time for this rebuild.
Might not have more time. It's the
Charlie,
NFL.
Yeah, Charlie Sinclair, $1.99. JG, friend Staley couldn't stop the run either. All right. Mr. Grimm, $10. How much to get a PHNX trash bag hat merch? We got
Mana gave us a $2
Manana,
donated
yeah,
to Manana.
He
I'm sorry.
wanted to switch up the Cardinals' name.
We can't put that on the screen.
Illadre, if we pick top 5 again, Monty might be gone.
You lose. You have back-to-back like 4 or 5 win seasons. Nothing. No one's safe.
Yeah, it's tough. You're having tough conversations, and you got to say the right things and sway Bidwell. Milwaukee Braves, $9.99. Laughable loss today. Not spending, coming back to bite them in the rear, questioning the front office mindset with being conservative with the money, and we still have not addressed the D-line. PO'd.
Austin Ford failed Gannon with his defensive personnel. That's an embarrassing set of players to put out there. And you've had, this is their 1-3 this year, so they played 21 games in this, and it looks the same as it did week 1 last year. That's it. That's a big F.
Little Dreezy, Monty gave Rallis chicken to make 5-star meal. I like that. That's a good one. Richard, $4.99. How much of it is on the O-line in the receivers not getting separation, or is it all on Kyler?
I mean, I think it's on Kyler and Drew Petzing. I'll put 99% on Drew Petzing and Kyler Murray. Like, you guys have had this bag of ingredients this entire time. You pick Michael Wilson, you pick Marv, you double down on Greg Dortch, you picked Higgins, you picked Tip Ryman, you picked Paris. These are all their players outside of like James Conner. Like, it's on Kyler Murray and Drew Petzing, and like to a lesser extent Austin Ford and Gannon. That's the offensive brain trust. If you're not producing points, then those people are to blame.
Illadre, $1.99. Sean Murphy Bunting should be benched. Give Melton and Keitrell Clark starts. Little Dreezy, 13. Playoff dreams died today. We got to accept that. Yeah, barring any unforeseen runs against some really good playoffs.
They have to do something that they've never showed to do, and that's string together wins. Yeah. They have not won back-to-back games since JG's taken over the team.
Josh, $10. I was at the game. It was 100% obvious that the offensive play calling was the problem. You could hear the Washington defense call out run or pass as soon as the offense lined up. Defense wasn't good either. It's a good breakdown.
It's embarrassing.
Lil Dreezy, $1.99. Wolfley said it best. Petzing's scheme has Kyler into sacks. Brian L. saying $5. After week 10, the Cardinals would be 6-4. Horrible loss. O-line looked like trash, but no way is there a repeat of this game. F. Steve Keim.
They're going to be 6-4?
Lang Hughes, Commander fan here. I was told Cliff was trash.
Check back in December. See you soon. Around Christmas time, my guy. We'll be here.
Doc XD, $5. AZ Sports not looking hot. Suns fizzle in the playoffs. D-backs choke their spot away. Coyotes leave, and the Cardinals disappoint heavily.
Ready to run through a wall right now.
Ready
Thanks,
to
Doc
roll. Doc XD. We'll figure it out.
Tyler P, $6.99. Cliff is doubly the Batman. What's he?
Doubly the Batman.
Doubly the Batman, Johnny? His sweet Batcave in AZ, too.
He's going to start fighting crime in downtown Phoenix. You're going to see it on the news.
Holy Kingsbury, Batman. Anyone associated with Bentley Brandon, run. Dre.
Bentley Brandon seems a little bit too complimentary. Bentleys are insane cars. It seems like that's a compliment, doesn't it?
Let me get some of these. Dre,
All
199. Hate saying this. Wins Arch. God. When I jump in, that's the one I read. Arch Manning. I'm going to just call right now. Bust. 4C33. 499. That would be the most Cardinal thing to do is draft a QB next year in a weak QB draft. Well, you never know what draft has weak QBs or not.
Yeah, this one. Charlie Sinclair, just happy D-backs went to help the Padres.
Gross. Yesterday, as if matters to make matters worse, yesterday I had Padres fans like high-fiving over top of me in the stands while I was
God, Damon, that's
buried
disgusting.
in my phone. It was just a horrific
Damon,
experience.
that's when you just start swinging.
I was pretty upset.
Cruz, 499. Just like Johnny with his steak, the D-Lighten can't finish.
Oh, they can't start, though. Neo Man, 15. The NFL should have the draft before free agency.
Agreed.
The Cardinals thought they were going to fix all their problems in a draft with 12 picks, but then they took a blocking tight end in the top 100. It's on them. Let's not make excuses for them. I'm not saying you are, but the Cardinals, they drafted like a team that was ready to win this year, taking Tip Ryman in the top 100. That was a joke. I mean, can we say that now? It's a joke. They need help. They need help on the defensive line, and they took a blocking tight end in the top 90. And everybody's like, don't hurt his feelings. What a lot of good it did you today, Cardinals. You couldn't rush the passer. You couldn't stop the run. You couldn't run the football. He doesn't catch passes. Trey McBride's your tight end. Higgins is your backup. That's not changing. You blew that pick. Let's move on.
Topic 64. You're going to love this. You want to read this one?
Yeah, JV, you're right. Can't dispute. SHIT. So disgusted. Well, we appreciate you, Topic 64. Listen, if this franchise and this regime is worth their salt, they'll come back next week and compete. Charlie Sinclair is back. Just sad. Jetta John Mazda Monty let us down.
Aunt B 199 was excited for the season, but now it's like go book. Yeah, it's hoop season apparently. Suns at media day tomorrow. Milwaukee Braves nice. 999. I'm going to the game at Lambeau in a few weeks. At this rate, I need to pack a paper bag for the head.
Last time they were there, they won. I was there. It was great, and I don't know if that'll happen again. Charlie Sinclair, 199.
Mike McCarthy was the coach of that team.
Got fired.
Yep.
Don't get me started with DeLorean Drew Patzing. Peter, $5. Great show, guys. All the super chats, 50 plus. Listen, if you didn't get a super chat in.
91.
If you didn't get a super chat in, I'm going to tell you what you can do for us. You can go to gophnx.com, become a diehard, and you can get a free t-shirt. And right now, if you're like, I don't want to rep the Cardinals, we'll rep PHNX Cardinals and rep the number 18 collection right now. If you become a diehard, you get a free piece of merch, no questions asked, plus 20% off all future purchases from the merchandise locker. Plus, you get all the inner workings of gophnx.com, access to the exclusive member Discord, read up on Craig Morgan's articles. He's going to have one tonight, one in the morning, banger after banger. Jesse Freeman on the potential collapse or entry point of the Diamondbacks postseason. Gerald Bourguet writing about the Suns right around the corner. Plus, we're also giving away a free Pit Boss Grill. Deals on deals on deals. In the description, in the chat, get that free Pit Boss Grill. I would love a Pit Boss Grill to ease my concerns tonight, but I'm not eligible to get it. So do it for me. Go get it right now. So much good stuff happening, despite the sucking of Valley Sports right now, because it's tough, and every fan base goes through this. We are here to pick up the pieces at PHNX Sports.
All the time, do they go through this? It feels like we just go through it.
This show, it's a
vicious circle.
Yeah, we don't.
Just never stops.
The only thing we have nice in this environment are all of you. Yeah. You're all we have.
Pit Boss, like they've got the smokeless fire pits. It's not just grills. Like we've got great giveaways.
It's about to be fire pit season. Yeah. Once it's not 114 degrees on September 28th or whatever it is. I was just walking into a store yesterday. I'm like, good Lord, it's so hot out. But it's about to change.
Right. Let's final thoughts here. As you guys crushed it all day.
We joked that we might go 2 hours before the show began, and we went 2 hours, and that's because we had 90 super chats and a lot to say. This is a turning point for the Cardinals, yes or no?
Turning point from where? Like, there's only one direction they can really go.
Is there? Could they? What if they look like this again next week?
Yeah, I mean,
so I guess that's my.
Yeah, I guess that's very possible. The reality of this situation is in what we outlined kind of going into this, where we thought that the Cardinals should take care of business and beat, a Washington Commanders team and beat their former coach, the predecessor to Jonathan Gannon. Instead, they did the exact opposite and are sitting here picking up the pieces. Now they have to, on the fly, figure out how to start to trend in the right direction against a lot tougher opponents. The San Francisco 49ers, Green Bay Packers, and then you've got a team in the Los Angeles Chargers who are playing a lot better than people expected in Week 7. So Arizona Cardinals 1-3 going into Week 5. It's not a place where you want to be, and to avoid a complete catastrophic start to year 2 and another 1-6, 1-7 start, you're going to have to surprise people. So now it becomes more of a Herculean effort for a team that that people have zero confidence in right now.
I just feel like when you lose the way they did today, there's not much this franchise can do or say. You lose by 1 possession, you lose on a missed field goal. There are positives to talk about. There's progress, tangible progress that we can see. When you look like that on the players that you opted to sign, to acquire, to double down on, and the coaching staff that you believe in the front office that you support, Dave Sears and Monty Ossenford, et cetera, and that's the product you put on for your team and your fan base, I should say, they're going to have to go out and prove it to people. Not in the headlines, not through social media, not at practice. They're going to have to go out and decide what kind of team they want to be this year, and do they want to compete,
right?
Or are they going to be a joke? Because here's what I will tell you. Like, we've dogged on their personnel. They have enough personnel to win. They have enough personnel to win games. Look at some of these teams that are winning in the NFC that are like the Packers lost. They won games with Malik Willis the last 2 weeks. Tampa Bay's doing it with Baker Mayfield. Minnesota, like Sam Darnold was a joke last year, and they're 4-0. Like, teams are finding a way not only to be competitive, but to win games. For you to put this kind of outing on display for your fans, you should be embarrassed, everybody top to bottom. So it comes down to, we're going to find out the character of the people that are not Michael Bidwell, that are in charge of this franchise from a football standpoint. Do these people want to put on a product that their fan base can be proud of and say, I want to invest financially and emotionally in the Arizona Cardinals? And if you don't put forth the effort necessary, and we see more of this, then we are going to have to call for changes, top to bottom. Everything will be under the microscope. And guess what? We'll have to do this entire thing again. But I am somebody that tends to believe that Kyler Murray is a big-time player, that Monty Ossenford knows what he's doing, and Jonathan Gannon's a good coach. So I am, as much as we're frustrated today, conditioned to believe that they are going to figure it out.
Well, none of those guys are free of any of the criticism right now. I mean, it's a firestorm right now, and the only way that they're going to change and work their way out of that is by playing better football, and they're going to have to chip away. Like, as much as I have confidence in them to play better and produce way better results than 42-14 and narrow the margin of defeat, and hopefully change some of what we believe to be probably, because I'm not going to pick this team to win over the next couple games until they prove me different, right? I mean, are you going into San Francisco and saying, hey, they're going to shock the world? Because at this, well, you better, because every time you predict a win, it's a loss, and every time you predict a loss, it's a win.
I'm 0-8.
You're 0-8. But like the head coach, the quarterback, every single player in that locker room, they have to do their job just to start chipping away at this thing and get back on the right track. They've put themselves in such a devastating hole now.
They wet the bed. They've wet the bed to start this year.
No, more than that. Like, I mean, they fell into a deep, dark hole with this loss and how it happened. Like, in order to start to earn the fan base back and everything that they talked about and the process and where they want to go and what, what they're playing for, and it's to compete for Super Bowls, it's all going to fall on like deaf ears right now until you prove people wrong with your play. Like, it's not like you were close against the Bills, you beat the crap out of the Rams, and then you lost to the Lions. Like, those losses now, they don't hold any merit.
Right. They're not moral victories.
No, because this loss counts just the same. But now you did it against the guy that you kicked out of town and Jayden Daniels and the guy that you fired.
Well, it proves what a lot of people were fearful of, is like, does this team is worth its salt? And I thought after they went in this Philadelphia last year and beat JG's ex-team. I'm like, that's the DNA of this team. Turns out Philly is just huge frauds. And like that victory means less and less the further we get away from it. Now it's like, can you win close games? Can you beat bad teams? I don't know the answer to that. Clearly right now, you're a team that people look at on their schedule and think that's a win. Like the Commander fans are laughing at the Cardinals and their fan base today because of how you treated Cliff Kingsbury and the quarterback head coaching combination that you have right now. Like the confidence has to come from one place, internally. And unless that changes and you can put together competent, quality performances that lead to wins, to your point, it's not just good enough to go out there, if it ever was, and lose to San Francisco by 4 points. I mean, those teams destroyed you last year. I want to be positive. We're overly positive on this show.
Sure.
But I'd be lying to tell you if I have legitimate concerns about how they finish this season, who finishes this season, and what this team looks like 6 months from now. If there are going to be more performances like that around the corner. Winning single-digit games, 4, 5, 6 in a year 2 of a rebuild with a $50 million quarterback, that's recipe for people getting fired. That's the NFL. Welcome to the NFL.
We'll talk to Jonathan Gannon tomorrow, get more the fallout to the loss to Cliff Kingsbury, Jayden Daniels, and the Washington Commanders. The team starts to turn the page to the division game. Cardinals 1-0 in the NFC West.
Don't talk to me. Darius Robinson could be playing football next week.
Darius Robinson,
that's a positive.
By Wednesday, could be designated to return by IR.
Real quick, does that expedite, in your opinion, their need to get him going? Do you think that they put any stock into that? Like, we need Darius, if maybe there was any
heads. I mean, I think there was already that urgency anyway. I mean, I think as soon as he went down, there was the urgency to get him back.
Okay.
That's my feeling on that. They drafted Darius Robinson to play for them. They've been robbed of that. We've been robbed of that. And they want to see D-Rob out there. D-Rob wants to be out there. I would be really shocked if Darius Robinson isn't on the path to playing in Week 5.
Like this video, the goal is 1,000 likes. We've had over 1,000 of you in the chat today, almost 100 super chats. We appreciate all of you. We're here the rest of the season and beyond to talk about this team for better or worse. Big thanks to Craig Morgan. Check out his work at GoPHNX.com. Damon, Dawg, crushing it. Behind the scenes today, clips from Kyler, JG, etc. Big thanks to all of our presenting sponsors, including our friends at Bet365. We're back for better or worse on a Football Monday tomorrow. The sun will rise again. For Bo Brock, Damon, Dawg, I'm Johnny Venerable. We'll see you next time.
We all silly like the mayor.